All right, welcome to another episode of the Terrorisk podcast. And I think this is going to be episode 58. And I am joined here on this fine Friday evening with one of my oldest friends, Mike C, Mike Cicero.
How's it going?
So, Mike, we're gonna talk a little bit about you. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
All right. So, first and foremost, what is your occupation?
I'm a sanitation worker. Very glamorous.
I mean, maybe not by title, but by... I mean, you make good fucking money doing it, so I think that's like...
That's the trade-off for selling your soul to your job.
You think that's selling your soul? I think that's the opposite of... I think
didn't aspire to do it.
Yeah, but all right. So what did you aspire to do? I mean, you don't have to name one thing. Like, give me some examples.
I wanted to be a professional skateboarder.
Yeah,
I wanted to play in a band. I wanted to be an astrophysicist.
Okay.
I wanted to be a writer.
All right, so most of those things I would say are pretty like I don't want to say selfish, but more like self-centered and focused aspiration.
Follow your dreams, you know.
But you ended up doing something that benefits society and that's actually needed in society. So it's like I don't know. I think that's like the opposite of selling. It's like sacrificing your soul. Selling your soul would be like becoming like a famous actor for movies that you hate, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, life doesn't pan out the way you want all the time, so.
So I think there's a difference between sacrificing and selling your soul. That's just me though.
I'll take what I can get at this point. So I'm still doing the things I love. I just do it, you know, after I pick up the garbage. Yeah.
And then you cash in your check.
Right.
Yeah.
And then go buy some skateboard merch or something.
Yeah. Do you still do you shop at Zoomies at all?
I do, but more by necessity, just because we don't have a skate shop anymore on the island.
Right.
So it's not like I choose to. You know, when CD Skate Shop was around, I was going there all the time. And you know, there were a few others over the years that they never lasted.
Yeah.
So yeah, Zoomies kind of became just out of necessity, but obviously now everything's on the internet. So
just for context, how old are you? You're my age, right?
31.
And you were born in 91?
I was.
All right, so for context, that means me and Mike are part of a generation where, I mean, internet was still around when we were like in our formative years, but it's not like
I've heard of that.
It's not like it fucking took over the world when we were kids, right? Not quite yet.
I mean, it definitely shaped everything from like age 8 or 9, you know, for us up.
I'm not going to disagree with that. But yeah, I mean, I bring up Zoomies because I feel like nowadays, I mean, it's kind of sad and shitty to think about, but I'm sure like more than not skaters would rather like buy stuff online.
I mean, that's more out of convenience, but skateboarders have a very DIY mentality. Most of the things I'm into do. So, you know, support your local skate shop, you know, support the DIY scene. That's what it's supposed to be about. But yeah, the convenience of the internet obviously changes everything.
Well, I mean, I would also say like give like, you know, some ethical arguments in support of like internet shopping for skateboarders. I mean, for one, Zoomies gave us good prices, gave us good merchandise, you know, gave us a huge selection, gave us service.
I gotta disagree with just about everything you said there, if I'm honest.
I didn't say good. I didn't say it gave us good service. I didn't say it gave us good products. I didn't say but it gave us fair prices, you know, compared to like the upsell local
That's
shop.
The thing with skateboarding, that everything basically has been universally priced, you know.
Yeah. Most
of skateboarding, it's pretty much all been the same. You know, they'll go up occasionally, like with the price of wood, they went up to like $70 now, or $65 or whatever. But generally, it's been uniform throughout the years.
So, in defense of online shopping for skateboarders, I feel like that gives skaters way more access to like rider-owned brands, you know, because like not every like, you know, mainline skate shops like Zoomies is going to carry rider-owned merch, like rider-owned.
No,
brand.
they typically don't. It's
but those little guys can open up a web store, and now we have access direct.
It's very DIY friendly. The only thing, it's a little limiting to people that are already involved in the scene. It's like pro skateboarders are the ones that typically open companies and stuff like that. Like if I opened one, I mean, sure, I could get it off the ground, but it would take a lot more effort.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is from what I've seen in like you know, like the bike scene, like the fix, even the BMX scene, even it's like a lot of it is rider owned too. But
absolutely.
But I will say, to skateboarding's benefit, it's like is less to it. You know, you don't have to weld together frames and components and shit.
It's a pretty simple device.
Yeah. It's, if anything, I would say that just makes like style and fashion more of a impactful element in skateboarding.
It's always been very important.
Yeah, because when you're, most of the time you're like, when you're not doing shit, you're not like really using it to commute. you also got to rock your outfit. You rock your
Well,
kicks.
it does tend to indirectly influence everything that you are. Like I didn't intend to, when I was a kid, I had that punk aesthetic that I was going for. And then over the years, you grow up, you care less about the fashion of it.
Yeah.
And then you just take these little elements of it that kind of all are intertwined and become who you are and what you wear and what you're about and your style and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's another part of it is style. That's it's easy when you're a kid, just wear whatever your friends are wearing. But then like you get older and you got to I can't do that anymore because that's boring.
Yeah, this is kind of just an accidental juxtaposition of like all the things I was into.
I mean, look, it's like I kind of just view clothes differently back then because that's what it was for me. Back then, it was just like a form of camouflage. Like, what do I wear that's going to make people like me and not think I'm a freak? Now it's like...
I did the opposite when I was younger. I wanted to look like that freak. Mm-hmm. I wanted people to turn their heads at me. That was kind of the whole, punk mentality when, in like the 80s and 70s and stuff. So I kind of, you try to adopt that. And then there was a point where you're in high school and you're like, oh no, thank you. And you're like, oh, now everybody's, all the frat boys are dyeing their hair pink and shit like that. And everybody's wearing tight pants.
Well, it's because when you're young, right? And we grew up, we both kind of like spent most of our teenage years in Staten Island. I was the Asian kid and you weren't. So it's like,
that is true. I was not.
You're like you as a person back in those days, you wouldn't really stick out as much unless you made yourself stick out. For me, it's like, for sure, I could do everything I could not to stick out. Right. But because like I'm surrounded
that's
by...
a fair point. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's probably why I was more drawn to like wanting to look more.
Right.
Whereas you'd be more drawn to like want to reject that standard.
I mean, I feel like you still had that, like, even at times, that graffiti style kind of bled through, who you were and how you dressed. Because that was a big part of our lives and everything back then.
Well, you know how I got into it? I got into it literally because of my friends. Because when I was 14 years old. That's when it all happened. I started smoking, drinking, doing graffiti, shoplifting.
Hip hop, it all kind of intertwines.
Yeah, all at 14. That was like the golden year for me.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. Would I do it now? No. There's a time and a place for it.
I still do that, some of that shit. I mean, drugs, I still do. Drinking, I still do. Shoplifting once in a while, not really. I kind of graduated from like shoplifting to credit fraud, but that's a whole nother topic. But like,
as long as you're still keeping that criminal element alive. I mean, some capacity.
Dude, that's the secret, like, to life. It's like, the secret is a little bit of crime. I mean, that's how you get by with anything. Even everyone from like billionaires to like the poorest people. It's like, how do you get by every day? Oh, secret.
See, I still have that. Just even through skateboarding alone, hop a fence every now and then. Wreck a ledge. Get kicked out for trespassing. Like, I still have that a little bit in my adult life, but nothing that damning anymore. As shoplifting or credit card fraud. Not that I ever did that.
Well, I mean, to do it at our age, A, it's not making us look cool. B, we don't need to do it.
It is not cool.
So anymore. Really, what it's really just doing, it's like a form of spiritual rebellion. It's like, yes, I know the paradigm I live in. I know what's expected of me in society, but I also want to acknowledge that I'm an individual being with my own agency. So I'm gonna shoplift this fucking this lip balm. Like
I like how it's specifically lip balm.
No, because I've done that for like if I was with a girl or some shit, and then I'd be like, don't buy that, I got it, and she'd be like, okay, and it's like, did you buy it? I was like, no, I stole it here.
I could see just doing it just to know that I'm still capable of it.
Yeah.
Just to feel that youthful energy, that rebellious nature again.
Actually, yeah. It was. I feel that because that's how it was for a long time. But what happens is I'm usually glad I do it in those moments of like nostalgia. You could call it fucked up nostalgia, where I'm just like, I'm glad I did it because like there'll be times where I start projects, like where I'm building a new computer setup or I'm like building a new modular synth setup that I haven't done before. And if I'm doing these things, then I'm gonna go out and like I'm gonna have to go out and buy cables, like flash drives, shit like that, like extension cables.
You can just steal them.
Exactly. So I go to like Staples or some shit or like any retail outlet and I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to pay like fucking $80 for like 3 cables right now. So I just steal this shit. I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah, I had to let that go. Don't get me wrong. I definitely enjoyed stealing as a teenager, but I keep that aspect of my life alive through things that I try to be more positive about it now. Things like, going to shows and still skateboarding and I still get that result out of it without doing anything.
Yeah, for sure. Cause that's a cheap hobby. Like the first thing you asked when you saw my setup, you were like, how much did all this shit cost? And that should tell you everything.
I played drums. I don't spend what you spend on equipment.
So that should tell you why. Like, because I could take like twice as long to have gotten everything together, or I could like literally cut the corners where I can, you know, without having to like.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I respect the grind or the hustle, but I just it's not for me anymore. I had to grow out of that.
I'm not trying to talk you into fucking shoplifting.
All
I'm
right,
just trying to tell you like the reasons why I do it, and like it's a lot of it really is
it's like you're stealing from like a human being. It's not as. You know, I don't judge you for stealing from a major corporation.
Oh, like a retail outlet? I wouldn't care if anyone judged you for stealing from a retail outlet.
No, I'm saying like you're stealing from like a major corporation. Like if you were stealing from like a mom and pop store, like that shit ain't cool, man.
Yeah, but what the fuck is there to steal from a mom and pop store?
I grew up in skate shops and comic shops, man. There's plenty to steal from there. I don't do it.
Well, okay, so I mean, like, let's go back to the context of our age and our maturity. At least I'm old enough to understand that, you know, if I'm shopping at a mom and pop establishment, like a small business, then clearly I'm there for something specific. And if I'm there for something specific, I also know I could probably find an alternative that's cheaper and not like, you know, made with as much.
Well, it depends. If it's niche, like a comic book shop,
exactly,
you can't go to Walmart for that.
Exactly. So if I'm shopping there for either a niche brand or a niche product, then I know that stealing from them is only going to hurt their business. And since they're already niche, it's going to kill everything.
Right.
So like I'm just saying, like if you understand that, if you're like old enough to get that, then yeah, you wouldn't really. I don't see how those people would be inclined to like see it the same way as shoplifting from fucking Walmart or something.
Yeah,
although
think about when we were stealing Yu-Gi-Oh cards. We never did it from like comic shops or card shops. We would do it at Toys R Us or whatever.
Yeah,
they can afford the loss. They'll take the L on that. I won't lose sleep over that one. But from a comic store, like I used to go to Comic-Con all the time, and like all my homies would like rob these vendors that like first of all they had to pay a crazy exorbitant amount of money to even be on the Comic-Con floor, and then they would steal these like hyper expensive books. And I always felt really terrible about it. I never really fucked with that, just because, you know, they're not comic shops don't make money. Things like that niche, they don't make money. It's just nice that they exist.
Yeah, I know, but that's like a really shitty kind of high stakes, high level, like high adrenaline thievery. Like, let me give you.
It's a lot easier than you think at Comic-Con.
I know. Let me give you a way shittier scenario. Imagine being like a music artist like me with this kind of setup, and then you know you get to the point where you get a following and people invite you all across the country to tour. So you're out in like fucking Tennessee, and then you just played a banging set. The next day, like or that night, one of your fucking rigs is missing. Like you just got robbed for like your whole entire.
Happens all the time, especially back in the day.
And guitars and like so like a bass or something.
What was it? The Sex Pistols? Didn't they claim that they robbed David Bowie's equipment, and that's how they got started? They stole their initial equipment.
That's awesome.
And I believe it was supposed to be David Bowie's.
That's the shit I'm talking about. You know, it's
well,
like,
that's fucking punk rock. That's cool.
That's the kind of
Bowie
like,
can buy some new shit. It's fine.
That's the kind of fucking like punching up rebel mentality.
Yeah.
Like,
don't go rob the local band that, you know, your local hardcore
David
show.
Bowie.
David Bowie. I mean, he did some questionable. As much as I love Bowie, he did some questionable shit. And yeah, go rob him. It's fine.
Yeah. Would you feel bad about robbing like a guy like Bowie at gunpoint, like scaring the shit out of him?
Because that's trauma. No matter what you're a human. I know he's like, you know, a mega star, so he was barely, you know, a human being probably at that point. It's got to be hard to even just be a human being at that point, because everything's so manufactured.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Your reality is probably very fucking different from somebody like ours.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like who's famous that I'd really feel extra bad about like robbing like that. Like, you know, like Kim Kardashian, how she got like her jewels robbed like by like straight up like.
I feel like I did hear about this.
Yeah, I was like, do I feel bad for her? I don't know. I don't think.
I mean, if it's a traumatic scenario, then yeah, of course I do. But if you got robbed like out of your car or something, I mean. Buy some new jewelry. Fuck off.
I saw this hilarious video where you see like a group of guys in a hotel. They knock on a room, and it's like it's T-Pain. They found out where T-Pain was staying. So the guy goes in the room, starts dancing, and T-Pain's like, "Hey, he's feeling it." And the guy just suddenly grabs the chains off the table and runs out. And T-Pain's like chasing him.
Look, I don't know anything about T-Pain personally, but like he seems like kind of an asshole from like just the Eric Andre.
Oh, so now you're getting personal with it. All right,
a little bit. I don't know. Whatever. But I'm sure he's done some questionable shit in his life. So
yeah, of course, 100%.
Look, is that an assumption? Absolutely, but just from that Eric Andre sketch, I don't know. He just rubbed me the wrong way. So you could rob him if you're asking my permission to rob T-Pain.
No,
I am endorsing robbing T-Pain.
I think if I had a chance to rob T-Pain, I don't know. If I
knew, go well for you.
If I knew nobody was gonna see me, but also to rob his chain, it's like all those rappers, those super rich rappers, they all wear one of a kind shit. So what are you gonna do? Steal their shit? Like who are you gonna sell it to?
That's very true.
Like,
I mean, I don't know. You could probably flip an NFL ring if you stole one of those. So I'm sure there's a buyer somewhere.
Yeah, like offense maybe. But if that's the case, then you're gonna barely get paid anything. I mean, then again, like I'd rather have like $10,000 on $1 million chain than $0 on no chain. So it's like, I guess it's still a win technically.
Yeah, I guess.
Fuck. Oh, you know who I spoke to today? Well, I've been speaking to him a lot more lately. Fucking Igor.
Oh, how's he doing? He had a kid?
I think the kid's like on the way.
On the way?
Yeah.
What's that about?
What do you mean? What's that about?
I don't know. It's crazy. Some of you never looked at like one of your friends. You just never expected that to be their reality.
Well, I met
a family man, Igor.
I was with him when he basically met the girl. I think they met online, and he told me about her when they first started seeing each other, and I wasn't sure if it was going to turn into anything, but I had a feeling that it could, because like Igor is just like. He's just like that, you know. I know what he's used to. I know what he's seen growing up. I know what his brothers are like. Yeah, I was like, I'm not surprised if he, you know, starts like getting serious with this girl. I also knew it was serious when he bought that house.
He just seemed like one of those people that just didn't want kids, though.
I mean, just because he never talked about it doesn't mean he never.
That's true.
When did he say like I would never have kids?
I don't think that he did it. Not that I recall, but I just don't. I don't know. Sometimes you see your friends go on and have kids, and you're just like, I just would never expect that from you. Not in a negative way or anything. Sometimes in a negative way. Well, not with Igor, but
I mean, who's really like honestly? Maybe it's different for women, but as a guy, like if I see a guy who's like out there saying like I really want kids, man, like I
want a kid. I'm that guy.
Do you talk about it all the time?
Not all the time. I'm not, going through.
Do you ever bring it up like on your own unprompted? Like, guys, I really want a kid. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm craving a kid right now.
No, but like, how guys are. They're not. First of all, it's not my body, so it's not like I'm going through these, changes that are making me. It's not like a going out of business sale for me, as opposed to somebody, a woman in like their 30s. I gotta have kids now.
Yeah. Like,
I'll be fine if I want to have a kid in 10 years.
Yeah, you could just freeze your shit.
No, you don't even need. You can have kids into your 50s if you really want to.
You don't want to do that because, I mean, look, this is all speculation, scientific speculation, which I don't even know if this is a thing. But apparently there's some evidence that shows genetic load is a thing. Meaning if your mom, first of all, if the woman is obese, there's already like a 40% higher chance of autism. And
is that true?
Yes.
Wow.
Apparently that also doubles if the guy is like already has a lot of genetic load. If he's like 40, 50 or something like that, that also increases the risk of autism. It does.
All right. So I did watch something on this not too long ago, and I think the consensus was that does it increase the risk? It does, but the risk was already, a small number or something. I'm going to paraphrase this poorly, but like it's something like it was already a small risk to begin with, and if you're doubling that, it's still a low risk. It is maybe double or whatever the number is.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
If it was like a 1.6% chance, double of 1.6% chance.
Right, whatever the number is. But that
no,
is
you're right.
Like,
that's a big mistake that a lot of statistics do. They'll
Correct,
inflate,
yeah.
Like, oh, it's a double risk.
Well, that sounds really bad.
It still is bad.
Double 0.5 or double 1%, isn't that high.
Don't get me wrong. It's still fucking terrible on a large enough scale. If you're talking about one family, one person, you're right. 1% isn't going to do anything. But if you look at a group of 100 parents, 1,000 parents, 1,000,000 parents, suddenly like 1%.
It's not a nothing number. It's definitely, slight cause for concern.
So and also like it's not just like the risk for a single person. If more people are becoming more obese and more people are waiting longer to have kids, and that number is just steadily increasing. I'm not saying like
that's probably, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but I assume a lot of that has to do with the food that we consume.
It's got a variety of factors. You're right.
Yeah.
Food is a huge thing. I hate our food industry. I think our food industry cares more about like producing and getting us to eat in excess than anything else, because what happens if we stop eating? Then our industry's bloated.
I'm a bad person to talk to about this because I am a glutton and I eat like a fucking animal.
No, okay, so
I'm exactly what they want.
No, we don't have to look at it as like a biased kind of thing. I could look at it as a straight up like just look at history. What happened? There was a time in American history where we didn't have enough food. Then, like, could you imagine that? Like,
no,
dude,
if I don't eat for 3 hours, my day is a disaster.
Exactly. Everyone nowadays in America, especially, our problem is eating too much food. So within the span of like 100 years, barely past 50 years, we went from not enough food to way too much food.
Yeah, we're all about excess.
Do you know what happened though? It was because fucking in World War I, during our research with making bombs, we discovered how to create like artificially like synthetic fertilizer, basically.
We've been genetically modifying plants for hundreds, thousands of years.
I know, but like for scale, after we made that discovery of like artificial fertilizer, it was able to double or
Yeah,
triple
well, I'm
our
sure that
crop
was a
yields.
major factor of the Industrial Revolution. I'm sure that was a huge proponent of.
So
huge
that's
cause of
another
it,
thing,
rather.
the industrialization of farming and like food production.
Yeah.
That was another huge part at the same time. And another thing is like it's chain reaction, because if our crops are doubling and booming, that means it's going to get pumped into cattle. That means cattle is going to get twice as large. And that's how we get to this point where we have like factory farmed meat.
Yeah, genetically modifying your meat is that's a very different thing for me. For plants, whatever, I don't give a shit, dude.
Yeah.
That doesn't frighten me. But the antibiotics and like all
That's
the
what we
hormones
feed.
and
That's what we feed. To
yeah,
the cattle.
that scares me. But I mean, again, am I highly educated in this topic? No.
I guess maybe a little bit of cursory research was warranted. I mean, that's how I clearly Googled it, because I had a huge problem with dieting. Like I was like,
What's a diet? I've never heard of that.
no, I'm saying like I had some like belly fat that I wanted to lose, and it made me do research. I was like, why is it easier to lose different kinds of fat? And then I learned that there's different kinds of fat in your body that'll burn before you're trying to get rid of the most stubborn places. So you have to maintain a consistent calorie diet, which
See, I think that's what that always did well for me, because like I have always eaten way too much. I mean, I've always moved around a lot, skateboarding, work, whatever.
yeah.
But I never stopped. I never stopped eating way too much. So I just feel like my body's just used to it at this point. So like my metabolism, it burns it off pretty quickly. I don't exercise really besides skateboarding and work, and I don't work out.
I mean, there's other factors like genetics.
I'm sure, yeah. I consume like 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day probably.
And it's also like the types of calories you consume at what point. Like my dad was telling me, he was like, I ate a lot, just as much as some of my bigger friends. But then like I noticed the difference is like when I would eat proteins, like meat, when we went to eat meat, I wouldn't eat carbs with it. Like I would just eat, but when I ate carbs, I wouldn't mix it with proteins. I would just eat the carbs,
Right.
So, but I would never did that. I would always mix it. I would always eat both the carb and the meat constantly, just like a standard American diet.
Well, you're Korean, so I mean, you grew up on a Korean diet mostly, right? With your grandma and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I was born in this country. Everyone
but
else
your
in my
grandma
family
ate very Korean, right? Mm-hmm. It's a lot of vegetables. It's not an excess of meat, right? I don't know how she was, but I always saw kimchi.
I mean, you got to look at it this way. When the whole family moved to this country, they weren't going for grocery shops at the local farmer's market in fucking some Korean village. They were like shopping at like AMP supermarket. You
go to like the Asian supermarkets and stuff like that, because there's things you can only find there. If you grew up, eating Korean food like that, you're gonna have to go to like Asian supermarkets, or you just get what you did not. That's
not what I grew up eating compared to them. Because
I'm saying for your grandma and your
them,
like
they ate on a strictly Korean diet. What I grew up on was like Chef Boyardee.
Oh, that's
fucking,
not good. Yeah.
Like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and fucking grilled cheese and.
Dude, I've reveled. I loved when I went to your house and I got to eat. That's when I got into kimchi and like those little seaweed chips or whatever.
Yeah, it became a real trend after that too.
It sure did.
Korea started really ramping up on cultural exports, and it was because that all happened because of like 5 companies that we all know.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Samsung, LG, Hyundai, and 2 other ones.
Thank God for that, because now I can get kimchi kind of consistently when I never was able to, and it's one of my favorite foods.
Well, I mean, all right, low level is like having to rely on places to get kimchi. High level is when you realize I should be making this shit myself. I mean, it's messy and it takes time, but if you truly eat it at the rate you say you
made your own kimchi?
100%.
Have you?
Every family,
really.
Every Korean family makes their own kimchi, and it's really
Your grandmother
easy.
did, right? That was the freezer stocked with like all the kimchi that she made, right?
Yeah, she made all sorts of shit though. She didn't just make kimchi. She also made she was really into making. You ever see those little in Staten Island, those little black raspberry things that grow on those trees? They're like sweet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she would pick a shit ton of those and
I think they're called blackberries.
And she would make like booze out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
think you had some at one point.
I don't know. Maybe I don't remember because I drank it.
Yeah,
I was drunk at 16 or whatever.
Koreans love to ferment shit because they're poor.
It's also super good for you though.
Yeah. I would say it's good for you. I mean, that's like an accidental, I think, thing. It's like
right.
Once they discovered they could like ferment shit and preserve it, like their food shortage problem got a little more tolerable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, that's also something to be said for a people who never really ate meat. I mean, Korean barbecue and shit, that's really like not traditional at all.
It's the best. I know it's got to be Americanized as hell, but it's the best.
I wouldn't say Americanized strictly as it is like modern, because like, I mean, also it's like where Korean Americans have access to way more beef, so there would be, it would be way more of a standard
surplus
thing
everything here. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. You still eat everything like meat, fish, pork.
I did not. Yeah, I didn't cut anything really out of my diet. I should have, but like I would love to be a vegetarian. I just don't have the discipline for it. I really don't. So I try to. Sorry.
Oh no, what were you saying?
I try to cut it out like a couple days out of the week if I'm having a good week, but that's about it. I just don't have the discipline for it.
Dude, I eat fucking everything, man. I don't care. If it's got a face, I'll probably eat it. The only thing is...
I have my limits. Insects, I won't do. It's the texture.
Really?
Yeah, I can't do the crunch. And I eat a lot of weird shit, but I can't get over that crunch factor. No way.
I'm kind of fascinated by because I heard it's like extremely nutritious.
It is. Yeah, you could probably solve world hunger. I mean, if you just everybody ate insects.
Yeah.
Aren't they like crazy high in protein? And, it's obviously sustainable. They're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, do I want to do it? No. I don't think I would ever try it. People eat beetles. Like, that's pretty common, beetle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I could ever do it. And I'll eat anything.
What if it was like bugs that were processed down to the point where it was like literal proteins?
Yeah, I don't care.
And then they turn that into like...
That's fine. Yeah, no problem. It's the crunch. It's definitely the crunch factor. Even the texture of... I mean, like, I like octopus a lot, but even the texture of that sometimes, it's a little...
I used to feel the exact same way as you, but then lately I've been seeing some videos on the internet. And there's always this, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but there's like a genre of videos where in some Southeast Asian like poor village, you would see them like cooking up some crazy fucking shit out in the jungle or something. And sometimes they would be cooking up huge jungle bugs. And I'll be like, that's disgusting at first. But then like I look at like...
you can make anything taste good.
Yeah, I look at the seasoning and the shit and like
absolutely.
the stuff they're grinding up on that stone whatever, and I'm like, that actually looks good now.
I do believe that nothing inherently... I mean, it has inherent bad flavors maybe, but like you can make anything taste good. If you're a good enough cook, I think.
Yeah, I showed you the fucking argument I had with Brent over seafood because he just refuses to eat any seafood, and it drives me fucking crazy.
Why? What's his issue with it?
That's why we argue, because he just doesn't know. And then he's like, that's like, to me, that's a satisfactory enough answer. It's just because I don't like it. I don't know. I just can't do it.
Has he had it and doesn't like it?
Yeah, he just can't.
Oh, then he's valid then.
But he's just like, it's fucked up because he says, he tells me, I didn't say this. He tells me, he's like, I'm not allergic. It's nothing like that. And I'm like, then what is it? Like, what's your fucking problem? He just can't answer. I think that's what drives me crazy.
I mean, I get it. Maybe there's a mental block. Maybe he had a bad experience, whatever it is. I mean...
Also, because he likes to identify as like a cook or a chef.
Brendan?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
He's been cooking for a long time.
I didn't know that.
He remember how he was gone for 7 years in Texas?
Yeah.
That whole time he was there, he was a cook at
I didn't know that.
a Vietnamese restaurant.
That's awesome. Oh, he did it professionally, like for a job. That's crazy.
Yeah,
wow.
that was his job.
Oh, okay. Because I'm a cook.
I mean,
like,
he wasn't
at home.
He didn't work as like a fucking 5-star, like at a 5.
No. Yeah, of course.
Or a Michelin star. Yeah, he was a.
But like me saying I cook versus him saying I cook, those are very different.
Oh no, he was legit. Like,
right.
Like, all right. There's like saying like I'm a cook. I enjoy it. I enjoy the stuff that I make. I enjoy the people that my loved ones eat what I make all. And then there's the cook where it's like, dude, I wake up in the mornings at 4 a.m. I go to fucking work. I have to prep. Yeah. I feel like killing myself.
People that would look, they all want to kill themselves. Anthony Bourdain's like a hero of mine.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
yeah.
Jesus Christ, is it depressing?
And that's Brendan's life. Like that's what he does. He lives that.
It's
like,
kind of fitting.
So like now he works at Wagner College as a cook in their
really
kitchen. Yeah.
Wow, good for him. That's cool.
I mean, they pay him shit, but they give him all like the juiciest benefits that he needs.
He gets benefits for that.
Yeah,
most chefs don't.
He gets medical insurance.
Yeah, that's
he
awesome.
gets time off summers if he's there.
Yeah, chefs don't get insurance.
He gets into a union. It's a union job.
Wow.
Yeah, so he could actually be set if he stays there, but at first he's going to be like shit on, like. So like he always identified as a cook, which drives me crazy about the fact that he just can't do all seafood. And I even argued. You saw the argument.
Actually, it's not to interrupt you. Now it's even weirder because he cooks it and won't eat it.
Yes, right?
Yeah, that's now weird.
Like you're telling me you're sitting there pouring fish oil into like vats of like bone broth, like fucking Vietnamese food, and you don't even eat this shit yourself.
That is now weird.
It drives me fucking insane.
I understand your
and he's
qualms.
Not allergic. He's nothing like that. And he's even told me, he's like, I tried it too multiple times, just can't do it. And I'm like, fuck you, Brendan. Like, fuck you.
I now understand your qualm with this.
And it's not just that. It's also like how he is with eating. It's like every time I'm like, yo, you want to go to El Patron? He's like, oh no, man, I can't handle that right now. And then like an hour later, we'll smoke and drink. He's like, could we please go to White Castle? Could we please go to McDonald's?
He's still doing that shit?
Yes.
He used to live off White Castle.
He's still doing that shit.
Oh my God.
And it drives
He's a professional cook.
I know.
That's ridiculous to me.
And it drives me fucking crazy because like I would offer to buy. I'll be like, dude, 'Dude, let's go to Korean barbecue right now. I'll pay for everything. Like, I'll get us the drinks. And he's like, 'Could we please go to McDonald's?' And I'm like, fuck you. I know. I just kind of want like fast food, you know? Like I'm like, you
That's not a sustainable life. He's got to cut that out, man. Don't get me wrong. Do I eat fast food? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't eat it regularly.
No, he craves it, which is.
Well, it's because it's an addiction.
Is it?
I'm told, at least. I know sugar is. I think the greasy food thing is too, isn't it?
Yeah, and the way he describes it, he's like, this is what my stomach can handle. This
what,
is just
diarrhea on a bun?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's fucking crazy.
So maybe you're right. Maybe it is more of like an addiction thing and less of a.
Maybe that sounds like a mental thing. I don't know. Or maybe he just likes it. I don't know. But that's as somebody who is a professional cook, that is absolutely insane to me.
Yeah, it's crazy. And but then
sense.
again, like I heard the whole like half the family is fucked up about food, which is like Brendan's dad, Bruce. He's a real deal chef. He's like an actual fucking
really.
Yeah.
Well, because he was sanitation.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
sanitation.
Well, he moved on to fucking. He moved on.
He's
to
been retired a while now.
Yeah. So now he cooks. Now he works
wow.
as a chef. And that's what he's
so crazy.
Yeah, that's what he's done for a while.
And I'm sure he eats
everything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, Brendan not doing that's like a poet that only reads Dr. Seuss in their free time. Like that's insane to me.
Or a poet who refuses to read Dr. Seuss, which is actually weirder.
I'm saying that's not like high grade poetry right there.
But seafood isn't high grade like nuanced stuff.
Sure, it can be.
I'm just saying it's like why?
That is insane to me.
But you know, like Brendan's dad would eat, but Brendan's mom has like so many issues with like diet stuff. So
yeah,
apparently the whole house is like locked in with only what.
Well, they're Irish, like they're hard Irish, right? And like Irish people have a bunch of genetic problems, right, with food and stuff like that.
I have no idea. I didn't know anything about food.
I mean, maybe I'm making that up, but I don't think so. As an Irish person,
is it like with Asians and alcohol?
Yeah, I think so.
You know what?
They have skin conditions all the time. Like look at Jordan. Like we're Irish, but barely Irish. Like what, 30%? And his skin is super Irish. He has all these like genetic things that I don't really have actually, which is weird.
Yeah, like reactions. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, Chris gets them.
I feel like the Asian thing is funny though because like I definitely don't have the same kind of tolerance I had back then. Now I could just go all night. It's kind of crazy.
Well, that's called it's a tolerance. You're building a tolerance. Yeah. If I stop drinking for like a month, 2 months, like I probably drink a fraction of what I can drink now. But I'm a binge drinker, so my tolerance doesn't go away. You
know what's fucked up? I didn't even become a heavy drinker out of like wanting to drink, like being a binge drinker. It ends up happening because like let me describe it, right? It's not like I would wake up at one day and be like, I'm gonna drink today. It just happens because of what I happen to be doing that day. For example, on a typical Tuesday, it will be a sword class day. I get up, do work, go to the dojo, do my sword class, and afterwards, what do? We go out and have beers. We get some drinks. Wednesday comes around. I meet up with Bo to make music, so she comes over, and what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna do it without a couple of drinks because like I want to loosen up so I can make some shit, So I'll have a couple of drinks.
That sounds like that is like a dependent correlation that you don't need though.
True, I
guess. For
the
music and stuff like that.
I guess.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's not that I need to do it. The point is I like to do it. So it just happens. So then Thursday comes around. Again, another sword class. After sword class, get a bunch of beers. That's, just again, it's not expected of me, but I enjoy myself. Friday comes around. Well, it's fucking Friday. Usually like my friends would hit me up. It's like, yo, come out to party. So I would go and party. And then what do we do?
This is a really poor justification for drinking a lot.
I'm not using it as an excuse. Obviously, I'm not sitting here telling me I can't stop. I'm just saying like how without thinking, I just get kind of like pushed into it without anyone needing to ask me. Like,
so do I. That's always been my issue. Cause like I don't drink at home and stuff like that. Like if we weren't doing this and you didn't offer me this whiskey, I probably wouldn't be drinking today. But yeah, it's based on what I end up doing, and
Oh yeah.
Besides Friday, Saturday, because I'm a binge drinker, I tend to party on Fridays and Saturdays. I'm like a party animal in that regard.
Oh well, that's what I got going for me. Like when I stay home, I don't drink.
Typically I don't either.
Because I know better. Like I'm like the minute I start doing that is because I live alone too. So it's like the minute I sit here when I don't go out and like decide to drink, like is the minute I'm in trouble. Like I can't do that.
Agreed. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I'm into like craft beer and shit. So like every now and then, if I have something cool in the fridge, like I will have a beer by myself, but it's rare, and I tend to get bored of it. And I won't go past like 2-3 beers because I would just lose interest.
Yeah.
Like I don't do it to get drunk. I do it because I enjoy the taste of it.
Yeah.
But when I go out with the intention to drink, that is when like I will binge drink for hours and hours and hours. And then you lose track of time and you don't know what you wake up with. Like I tend to black out now because I'm older. That's the kind of stuff. Binge drinking's worse for you too than having like casual
Absolutely,
drinks.
100%. Yeah.
And that's the kind of drinking I do.
Yo, this week actually was the first time I intentionally like actually really cut down drinking for a specific reason. I told you like this weekend I have a sword tournament. Did I tell you about the bet I made?
No.
So in the sword tournament, which happens on Sunday, There's like separate competitions, like one for cutting the mats, one for doing forms, and the other one for sparring, fighting. And you could like go for first or second. You could try to place in each one of those different competitions. I made a bet, not with anyone in particular, with myself. I announced to my friends and my dojo mates, I was like, if I don't get first place in this sparring tournament, I'm going to shave my head.
Did you get first place?
Well, I don't know. That's the Sunday.
Oh, I thought that was the one that you were at today.
No, it's
okay.
no. So I said I've been preparing.
Right. My misunderstanding.
Tomorrow is when the seminars start, and then the next day is when the competition.
So you're really gonna shave your head?
If I don't make first place, yeah.
You're gonna look weird with a shaved head, right?
I don't care. Like the point is, like it's gonna make me want to get first place.
Right, but then when you inevitably don't, you have to commit now. You have to shave your head.
So here's the reason why I made that bet is because this is the first time in my life I've ever tried to win something that I've actually felt like I could actually win.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Like I'm not
You never did races or anything with like.
No.
Wow.
I never did any kind of competitive event.
Are you a competitive person?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, I do martial arts, like, so it's like eventually it gets to a point where if you do this, I've been doing this for 5 years now. Now I'm at a place where it's like, I think I'm fucking good.
And 5 years, you've never competed.
Because that's not what it was about for me. It was never.
Sure.
It was never a competition thing for me. It was always about like, this is awesome. This is great. I love it.
That's literally skateboarding for me.
Yeah, but then now it's like, like in the beginning of the year when the tournament was announced, I was just thinking about it. I was like, I was thinking about how the stars align. First of all, like I was thinking about how like the actual factors, like a lot of the people who could actually beat me at any given day, a lot of them moved on, or to be honest, they've grown soft because of kids.
What, this is your time now?
Yeah. So it's like, I feel it, it's like, dude, a lot of the heavy hitters even retired. So it's like, I've been doing this for long enough. The only people that go to class with me are juniors.
Wait. So was this like a safe bet where you're like, it seems like this grandiose bet where you're going to shave your head, but you're like, no, I really got it in the bag.
It's never a guarantee.
Right.
Like for example, I've been to other tournaments where I've seen the best dude who had the best odds get knocked out.
Right. Yeah.
So even I know, like I'm not ignorant to the
fact. It could be an off day, anything. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I know, and that's how I know. Like I've been preparing. I haven't been drinking as much.
Yeah.
I've been like working out a lot. I've been going to every fucking training class.
Yeah.
Like,
good.
I've been doing so. The reason that I made that stupid bet because like to say like, dude, I mean it. Like I'm telling people I fucking mean it. I mean,
I get the motivation. I respect it. It's respectable. It is.
And like this is something that I could actually control. Like I could actually win these fights.
Yeah.
Whether it's luck or will or skill or whatever.
I'm sure it's a combination of all of them. Yeah.
And now it's like at a point where it's like, dude, I never felt like that about anything. Where it's like a competition that I care about. 1, 2, that I think is a worthy achievement. 3 is completely self-imposed. No one pressured me into this.
Right.
No one influenced me. I saw this. I saw the opportunity, and I decided for myself, I'm gonna fucking take it. And I know it's not a sure thing. So it's like this is, and like I'm excited. Like maybe I'll fucking.
It's your first like real. Like tournament in anything you're saying, right?
Yeah.
So, like I love like what you're saying. Like I didn't get into skateboarding for stuff like that, but anytime I get the opportunity to compete, I become like a different animal. And, I see a side of myself. I am a competitive person, but skateboarding was never like that. Skateboarding is not inherently competitive. It's very subjective in your own thing. And there are fucking millions of skaters that will never compete a day in their life.
To be honest with you, like this is like a really deep kind of insight into my psyche, but I was like I said before, I was never, not only was I not a competitive person, I fucking hated it. I hated competition so much to the point where I hated other competitive people. So you know how I decided to cope with that? I decided, then you know what? I'm going to become the best so that anyone who I come across that's competitive, I could just shut it down real quick. It's like,
is that not inherently competitive?
Which is when I started to realize, I was like, oh shit,
kind of the
I'm just taking, exactly. I was like, I'm just taking extra steps to really admit to myself. It's like, so now it's like just embracing it, just being like,
there's nothing wrong with it as long as you can handle it gracefully. Like there's nothing, because I have both sides, right? Where I can be competitive in like a good nature, like through something like skateboarding. And then like, I don't know, if I'm playing like a competitive video game, like I could be a goddamn cunt of a human being. In a competitive way.
I never understood that because like that kind of sense, that competitive nature, that has to be informed by life. Because we all know society is going to educate you in the complete opposite. They're going to educate you to be fair, to be nice, to be understanding.
No, competition is innate within us. That is human nature.
I'm saying in modern society, like
I gotta disagree. Yeah,
they're pushing kids to be in a different way.
Oh, don't give me that like. What you're like saying that like participation trophies and that whole argument. That's what you're getting at.
No, I'm just saying like the idea of like dominating others is becoming more and more discouraged.
it's not dominating. It's just it's healthy competition, and then there's people that take it too far. But there's nothing wrong with healthy competition, and I don't think that's.
I agree. First of all, I agree with you. I couldn't do this martial arts unless like a huge part of me agreed that healthy competition is actually incredibly essential for like
martial arts is inherently competitive, right?
That's the nature of it. It's war.
Absolutely.
We're talking about war. War is anything if not like. Like
different form of competition, but yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, all right, if you want to get technical, war is actually just a form of negotiation, but you're right. I mean, like it is a lot of it deemed on like the competitive nature of who has more to leverage with, in this negotiation, it's like
I'll join you on that beer.
Yeah, so I agree. It's so like I'm really stoked about this tournament, and also I know like if I lose, if I get second place, I know I'll shave my head, but I'll have no regrets because like I did everything I could think of,
That's going to take a while to grow back out.
You think so?
Yeah, I've shaved my head many times.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe you grow your hair faster, but that would be
grow my hair really fast.
Minimum a year and a half.
What do you mean?
To grow to your length now? From nothing?
Yeah.
Year and a half, yeah. What? It's a big commitment, so you better win this fucking competition, man.
It'll be interesting. I don't mind it, though.
Why don't you just dye it a goofy color?
Well, no, I like... Because, I don't know, shaving it is more like transitory, It's like I'm transitioning.
Whatever you got to do to win this tournament, man, best of luck to you. Although, obviously there's a part of me that kind of wants to see you with the shaved head. But
and that's another thing. Like, I announced this to kind of make it fun for people to watch.
Well, now it's real, too. Now you have to do it. People know about this.
Exactly. So it's like...
You just said this on a podcast. You have to go through with it.
Well, but I said it multiple times before this podcast, too. Like, I've announced this, probably a month already. Like, it's been like a lot of people are like saying like
wait to see the results. Either way, I'll be happy for you that you went through with it and shaved your head,
or get first place,
or you get first place.
Yeah.
Right,
so
right.
It's like, to me, it's like
it's a win-win.
Yeah, well, kind
not
of
for you, but for
yeah.
me, yeah. I'll be happy for you if you win, but I'll also be happy to laugh at you with no hair. I've known you for 15 years, and I have never seen you with no hair.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be fine. I mean, either way, it'll definitely be a change.
Like, it'll be something either way. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Best of luck, man.
Yeah. So like, and like, I'm thinking about it, and like, I don't think anyone has been working as hard to prepare for this as me. Which again, won't guarantee a victory. I still know even that doesn't guarantee a victory.
Yeah, there's natural talent, and I don't know what you're dealing with these people specifically. Are they all within your age group?
No, well, yeah, older. Yeah, me and my age are older.
Okay.
None of them are.
There's no children. You're not like beating up 12-year-olds. Is what I'm saying. I want to see that competition.
Well, we deal with like blades. Like they all have a waiver for like 18 and up.
Wait, you deal with actual blades?
Yeah,
I'm sure they're dulled, but
no, we trained with actual swords.
You fight with swords?
Oh no, we fight with the no. All right, so yeah, we train with real swords. We cut real swords.
Yeah, not on each other.
No,
though.
when we fight, we use the.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that would be fucking psychotic.
Yeah, no, we don't duel to the death.
Well,
no.
you mentioned the waiver, and I was like, what?
Well, it's a waiver because even when we're just practicing with our real swords, we're still like a few feet away from each other swinging swords.
Right,
around.
but do you get any accents?
I've seen a lot of shit, yeah.
Oh, no.
I mean, nothing terrible, but the worst thing I've seen was actually the weirdest shit.
You see blood, though?
Yes. So I watched my teacher, like, doing, like, some kind of close-range demonstration, and his big toe got caught in the mat where it snapped off. Legit, like, and it had nothing to do with the blade, nothing to do with the cutting. His toe just
That's kind of ironic, no?
Yeah. It literally, and blood was gushing, and then everyone was, like, panicking, and I was just, like, I sat down, there was a doctor there, in class with us, luckily, because he also attends class. So he was able to help with the first aid, and like I didn't freak out or anything. So like, there was that, but that was like probably the weirdest shit I've ever seen.
That's so weird. That's so ironic. Like imagine if you're in like a war zone, like you're a soldier and you like slip on a pebble and crack your head. When you're like on your way to the bathroom or something. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, he died in Afghanistan. Oh, would he get shot? No, he fell in a rock and hit his head.
Fucking freak.
It's ironic. It's funny though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not funny that happened to him, but.
I mean, I still laugh about it.
The safety device.
Yeah.
That's what broke his toe.
Yeah, like because like the mats were like segmented off and paneled.
No, I can fully picture it.
And then his toe just got caught. I was like,
that is objectively funny.
It was crazy. It was
like a compound fracture, or
no? It was like imagine my thumb just getting ripped off. Yeah, off.
I thought you were exaggerating.
No, like it snapped off, like and it was hanging by like.
Jesus fuck! But we just had a guy at work who's like probably a quarter of his thumb.
Oh my god, that sucks.
That was kind of his fault, but I guess it's a little different. But
well, yeah. What's the worst workplace accident you fucking saw?
that I saw, nothing severe. I've never seen anything. I've heard crazy stories. One of my favorite stories I've ever heard, and it's all hearsay. So is there truth to this? Maybe. But my favorite story was they put a couch in the back of the truck and cycled it. That's when the blade comes down and takes the garbage up.
Yeah.
So it crushes it. So the couch doesn't fit entirely in there. So they put a couch in there, and it's cycling up the couch, and it's taking it, and crushing it, and just I don't know, like a kilo of cocaine shot out and covered the guy.
What?
Yeah, this is what I've been told. Okay, I've heard I can give you fucking amazing stories, but I don't know if there's any truth to any of them. This is it's like high school. Everybody makes up fucking stories and distort stories.
I believe this shit because you know who used to work, who's old school sanitation, right? Fucking Luca Polsky's dad.
Yeah, he just passed, by the way.
Oh, that sucks.
He did.
I
Yeah, I
didn't know
loved
that.
him. He was great.
Yeah, but he was old school sanitation. He had some fucking insane stories.
Did he? Yeah. If you're especially one of the old school guys. Did I ever tell you he got mad at me because I didn't bring him DMT? I swear to God. We went up there to do DMT the first time I ever did it, and he found out we did it, and he was like, "Oh, you didn't bring any for me?" And I was like, "I didn't know that."
You were
You're
into
a
that,
60-year-old man. I'm sorry I didn't assume that you would want some heavy fucking psychedelics.
Wait, did you break through when you did the DMT?
The first time I did, yeah. Actually,
Yeah, cool.
I've launched twice.
Awesome.
At least I've done it 5 times, maybe 6, and I've launched that I can remember 2 times. That those stories will stay with me for the rest of my life.
We're glad you're here.
What is that?
You remember Trevor from Whitest Kids You Know?
Yeah, R.I.P. man.
You ever
Rest in
you ever
peace.
see the video my computer came alive?
No, I don't think so.
Yo, can you come closer to the table? You're drifting out of the shot. Yeah. It's okay. Brendan does the same thing. Yeah.
ADHD, man. Both of us moving around constantly.
Yeah. No. Trevor released this video, his rap music video about how his laptop accidentally did drugs and it became alive. Yeah, and there was a part where and the robot was like a dick, get me coke, let's go to the titty bar, blah, blah. He's like, I want some DMT.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to send me that.
And they did DMT together, and then they ended up in the place, and you saw these time.
You've done it, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
And the time machine gnomes and this is where the song shifts to where the time gnomes are singing to him. We're glad you're here. You can make noises with your taste or something. You could taste sounds.
You're gonna have to send me that. Yeah,
it's really funny.
Do you know how he died? I just found out.
He fell off a balcony.
Yeah,
I think he got assassinated by the government for saying that.
It's probably that. Yeah.
I think they killed him.
Yeah, they made the Hitler rap, and I guess the government was like, "That's enough out of you."
And it'll be so easy. It'll be easy as fuck to kill this idiot. We do this shit in our.
I loved him so much, man.
Yeah, he was really funny.
He was the best one. Him and what's his name? Zach, the one that made Barbarian.
Yeah, about that whole crew, what I just did, I went down a crazy rabbit hole, because you see a lot of material by them, you see a lot of recorded performances by them, but you barely see interviews with them,
Is that true? I never looked.
I tried, and then I found very few instances of their old days of them talking about how they came up, and it's it's a really interesting story because they were starving artists.
I'm sure
they were basically
what are they, Canadian or American?
I don't know, probably some were American, some were. I know it's the same story. It starts with a group of 3, then they bring more. They were they were an acting troupe, Monty Python shit. That's what they were going for. They were going for a troupe of
and that was all DIY, I think, too.
Well, I mean, those things typically are, right? That's how they start.
Yeah. Are you into Anti-Donna at all?
Probably. I'm not that much of a acting stand-up kind of comedian.
No, really?
No, I do appreciate stand-up. I did consider trying it.
Oh, it's awful. I tried it.
But the problem was I know too many not fruit, actual Brooklyn comedians.
Yeah, yeah.
Brooklyn. So I know too many of them, and I know the lives they live, and it's it's really
yeah, it's not glamorous.
It's really dark. It's really dark.
Anything artsy tends to be.
Not everything.
Writers,
but
whatever.
You're right.
Yeah.
Most of it is, especially in
Musicians.
New York City, any metropolitan city, all the art scenes are usually really contaminated with lots of drugs, lots of toxic, lots of toxic, friend-wise incestuous relationships and shit, cross-pollinating of friend groups, and it just leads to a lot of fucked up drama.
Yeah, you hear stories from I'm more into the comedian scene than you are, bigger comedians. Not we have our friends that do it, but I'm pretty interested and invested in comedy as a whole. And yeah, you hear some of these fucking stories, and it's just weird a lot of the time.
I'm into niche comedy scenes. I'm into the fuck. I hate mentioning them on this podcast. But you ever listen to Come Town?
No, I'm not familiar.
Never?
I don't think so.
You're into comedy and you never heard of Come Town?
I mean, like, I can only be exposed to so much. I'm gonna miss some.
All right.
things.
You ever heard of Stavros Halkias?
No. Is that a real group? Or are you just making up words?
No, it's a name. Okay. No, I don't know. I don't even think I could. You know what? Once you discover Come Town, come talk to me about
Discover, just send it to me.
No,
you
it's
have my phone number.
It's a podcast, so it's
Okay.
like, yeah.
Why do I think you told me this when we were pretty hammered one day?
I don't know. I probably showed you a
Probably
showed you a fucking.
or told me about it.
Yeah. Nah, they. You want me to tell you what they do?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
They're just. It was a podcast started by like 3 really amateur comedians. You know, they were like in the very underground scenes, and their podcast blew the fuck up out of nowhere. So
Okay.
it's like they just happened to get featured on the right Friends podcast. Like they were comedians, they weren't known as, you know, comedians,
Right.
but they had other friends who did other stuff.
Sure,
like
sure.
in the political literature scene or in, you know, some other scene, the artsy movie scene, and they all did podcasts and they all featured each other and became friends. And this is all like the Brooklyn hipster kind of artsy.
So they're out of New York.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
This is all like Chapo,
How many, especially then, how have I never heard
like
of this?
Chapo Trap House, The Red Scare, Come Town.
These are all podcasts?
Yeah,
Okay.
these are all like the hippest of our age group anyway.
Why, do
know?
you listen to these like indie podcasts and stuff? Because I don't tend to.
I think that, first of all, I think they're the better podcast than like the mainstream ones. They're
Yeah.
just way funnier. And secondly, the only reason why I got into this whole like all the crazy indie podcasts was because I got interested in podcasting.
Into doing it yourself.
I wanted
Right.
to learn how to do podcasting.
No, and that's probably a good place to look then.
So
yeah.
then I decided, I was like, all right, let's do some research on podcasts. What podcasts are my friends listening to?
Yeah,
and they were
yeah.
all listening to Red Scare, Chapo Trap House, or Come Town. So I was like, I looked into all 3 of them. And then I got into some of it. I was like, I like Come Town the best, obviously. I was like, this is fucking hilarious.
Do you
know,
listen
like,
to any bigger ones or just the indie or more indie
I mean,
podcasts?
yeah, everyone knows about like the Joe Rogan show.
Do you actually listen to Joe Rogan?
No.
Yeah,
I
I mean, if I care about the guest, I will.
I don't really listen to podcasts. The only reason why I got into it was because I wanted to make my own podcast.
So are you now just jaded by because you make your own and you had to study, you know, other people's podcasts to do yours?
No, I
or-
mean the people when I was getting into it, all the people that you know, all the indie podcasters that I was researching, they all pretty much stopped podcasting and they're doing like
Oh, yeah?
bigger and better things.
Right,
like they're
right,
going
right.
on to like acting and shit.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's not even like I necessarily stopped caring, but it's like, yeah, they're doing different shit that's not necessarily in line with what I was
Right.
looking for.
Okay,
at
so I have
the
a
time.
question then, because I get you're somebody that, you know, likes to inform themselves of all kinds of random shit, and so am I. Where do you get your information from if you're not reading articles or novels?
Give me a context. Like, are we talking about
Like, I learn a lot from podcasts. I really do. Like, I listen to a lot of science podcasts and stuff like that.
No, actually, most of the shit that I'm learning, like, especially for the past few years, it was never random. It's always like, because my life has just revolved around projects. You know,
Okay.
like,
yeah, so we're different then. I'm all over the
like
place.
my project is my podcast, so it's gonna make me look into podcasts. But
Right.
But even if you have that focus, it really spreads me out very thin real fast. Because, for example, I want to do a podcast. Okay, I do a podcast. These are the technicals involved. This is the equipment you need. This is the kind of mixing you need to do. On top of that, how do I make better content for the podcast? Well, you got to learn how to talk about interesting topics. What are
Sure,
interesting
okay.
topics? And that dives deep into the psychology and social dynamics with actually being able to talk to someone. And it's also like marketing is involved. It's like, who are you presenting your podcast to?
Okay.
So, and then this also ties into my other interests, like, you know, music production, and then I'm also into martial arts, and that inevitably leads me into the similar studies. For example, martial arts gets me right back into psychology because I'm fighting someone. It's
Okay,
like,
I
you
get
know,
that.
it's
But
like,
my point is that you have a lot of, you're one of those people, like, you have a lot of random information.
yeah.
That's
I mean,
why I'm asking
my
this.
intent to find that random information may not be random, but
Gotcha,
but I end up coming across way
Like, do you
too
go
much.
down rabbit hole? Like, I go down rabbit holes where it will
100%,
lead me
yeah.
down other rabbit holes, though. Like, it'll be like, you know, this one topic that then leads me into 4 other topics that I read about that day.
Yeah, unless there's something going on in the world that's so crazy,
Right,
like,
right,
I can't
yeah,
help
for
it.
sure, for
And
sure.
that's what I've been going through now, like with AI.
What, and the UFOs and shit?
Well, the UFOs is crazy because
Well, that's current. That's very fucking current right
yeah,
now.
that was like a couple of days ago. But the AI,
No, this has been going on for like a year now. Like, Tom, like I said, Tom DeLonge.
Oh yeah, when he
leaked all that shit, I
the
feel like
government
that-
was actually like, dude, well, how did you get this?
People
Like,
listen to him though. Like, that's the thing. Like, I feel like he wasn't alone in this, obviously, but because of his celebrity status and how much of a cult following he has, I feel like he reinvigorated this interest in UFOs, and now it's taken seriously. He's not alone, but he is one of the pioneers, the modern pioneers.
A pop culture figure.
That's why, because he has a platform. He has a bigger platform than objectively probably any scientist on this planet.
What put the nail in the coffin was, Tom DeLonge released that, and all of his fans, first of all, were like, holy shit, that's insane.
Yeah.
But what really hit the nail on the head was when the government came in and confronted in public, like, how did you get this?
Did they ask him
Yeah,
that?
yeah. They were like, dude, that's actually classified shit. Like, you're not supposed to have
He's
this.
been doing this. So you know how this all started, right? So you know the song Aliens Exist, right?
Okay.
Do you know the song Aliens?
No, I don't doubt that.
It's a Blink-182 song. I forget. I think it's off Anima. It's an older song. But
I totally believe it, yeah.
Yeah. The song, like, at the time when I first heard it, like, it was like, oh, that's quirky. That's fun.
Hilarious.
But then, he absolutely believes in all of this stuff. And not only that, but he used his resources. He started To the Stars, and this is what they do. They're looking for alien life any way they can, and he's using his resources. I give him a lot of fucking credit, man. Do I think he's a kook a lot of the time? While I love him, yes, I do, because I think he's also into like remote viewing and like stuff like that I don't believe in.
All right, so we were talking about this before the podcast. I was telling you, you know what, you're right. We're not going to go by word. All we can look at is data. So we can't even take every story for its like own word. But what we can observe objectively is how many of these separate instances of these stories are very similar.
I do agree with that. They objectively are, yeah.
And like where there's no way for them to have been
that I don't agree with. Something like the Great Flood, right? This is a good correlation. So, like every planet, every country, like on the planet base, or every culture rather, has a flood myth.
Yeah.
Like Noah's Ark flood myth, whatever. It's our own versions, obviously, but like, it was in the Epic of Gilgamesh and everything, the Bible, everything.
I have some thoughts on that, but continue.
So, like, yeah, like where's your stance on that? Because like that probably did happen.
Well, all right. So here's my take on that. The key to that story isn't actually like the content of the story. It's the idea and nature of storytelling in itself. Here's a fun fact. Literally every story since the beginning of recorded human history, and we're talking stories, and this is why stories are so important for human development. They all follow a very similar structure called the hero's journey. It's also known as the monomyth. It's literally a formula for what happens in a story.
Absolutely,
you start with your subject. He goes through shit.
Struggles and
Shit
tribulations.
fucks him up, changes him. He comes back
overcomes
changed.
it, yeah.
Exactly. But that's no joke. You look at any proper story that resonates with so many people, it's always some variation or subversion of the hero's journey.
Yeah, our formula for storytelling, for narratives has
not
not really changed. Yeah, that much. Which is why any of those anticlimactic stories that you hear, like, I don't know, No Country for Old Men, like, the end.
That's why they're a big deal.
Yeah, they're the coolest fucking thing ever.
Because they're in direct contrast to something that we know to be so natural.
Yes.
So yeah, it's always, but it still doesn't. That means it's still tied to it. It's always going to be tied and linked back in some form, whether it's opposing it or synonymizing with it. It's always going to tie back to the hero's journey, the monomyth, that formula, that structure. So it's like we know this. So it's like that's just what that was my thoughts about what you were saying about like how there were so many civilizations that all taught about the same, very similar myth.
Well, we kind of went off on a tangent, right? So, but I was correlating that to the UFOs and like what's like a similar story, like the Greys, right? Greys are they're a constant in UFO stories, right?
Like big, like weird shaped heads, big eyes.
Yeah, little. Yeah. Usually, the Greys are usually smaller. The anatomy is always described the same way. And I mean, do I believe in that? Just because, first of all, like you could, if you hear something and then something weird happens to you, you're gonna look for answers and things that you've heard for. It's just how the human brain works. So I don't think there's validity to it just because there's similarities in these stories.
Did you hear about the Las Vegas thing?
Which one?
The one that happened a couple of days ago?
I don't think so. I haven't, nothing in the last year probably.
Okay, so that was also like, this is also now the latest sighting. But the reason why I didn't want to bring that up, because to me the Congress thing with that whistleblower was a way bigger deal. But it's also interesting how right as that happened, you're also hearing like about shit like a sighting in Vegas and shit like that.
What, just a UFO sighting it was?
It was a UFO crash sighting, and like the whole big deal was that the cops' body cam footage was released, and you actually
I didn't look into it. I did hear about that.
Yeah,
I meant to click the article today,
and you listened to the recorded the 911 call, and the guy was like something crashed. There's two beings there. They're talking.
I heard about this.
They look inhuman.
Look into it,
was like 8 feet tall, 7 feet tall.
And this was called over the radio.
Yeah.
I mean, don't discount the fact that human beings will go to great lengths
to exaggerate shit.
For sure. Like people have testified in front of Congress or not in front of Congress, but they what's it called when you're on the record? You're under oath rather. People have been under oath, like telling these like grandiose stories, and like it doesn't mean they're true.
But we live in a different world now. We live in a world where literally it's not just 8 billion eyes looking up at something.
That's the thing. The satellites, all the drones, like
and the phones. Every single one of us are equipped with cameras.
This
now.
is my point, though. If you have satellites all over the fucking planet, like there are private companies that could leak this shit.
But okay,
that's why I don't believe aliens are here.
No, but that tells you something about how potentially advanced this kind of technology
Fuck
could be.
that.
Because
I get your point, but like there's no way.
Because visually we're talking about things that are moving in something in patterns that's physically impossible for any known aircraft can do. And this is shit that's been recorded. This is shit that's been reported. This is shit that's been substantiated.
Substantiated, I don't agree with.
I mean, by video. You literally see...
Yeah, but video is...
Yeah, it could be
Come
edited.
on.
You're right. You're
Not
right.
even that, just the lighting. Like that's the
yes,
thing. Like, all right,
yeah.
Where do you feel on ghosts and shit when they have ghosts on camera?
No, all right. So look,
it's on the camera.
It's one thing. It's one thing if every ghost sighting is a ghost sighting, but what happens if every ghost sighting says like, but in every single one, they all said, yeah, he was wearing a red scarf. The ghost was wearing a red scarf.
There's shit like that all the time though. Like I was just watching this whole thing on shadow people. Are you familiar with like what do they call sleep demons or whatever? There's a bunch of different ones. Who basically like...
I kind of believe in that.
No, it's not. It's just sleep paralysis. That's all it fucking is. Like, we know that it's just sleep paralysis.
Oh, that's what I thought you meant. Like, yeah, I believe sleep paralysis is
it's
a thing.
It's just sleep paralysis. But people they all see the same shit.
Oh, yeah, you hallucinate the nightmarish vision of...
Yeah, well, it's not even hallucinating. Well, you are hallucinating because you're awake.
Semi-awake, so to speak.
That's the thing. Like, you will be in this state between consciousness and unconsciousness where you can only really move your eyes. In some instances, you can't even do that.
You know, that's when you're also when you're the most creative.
When you're asleep?
No, when you're in that state that you described between
what, lucid?
Between sleep and awake.
Well, are you talking about like REM, or are you talking about like when you're actually
okay,
in that between state?
No. I'm describing it in a fucked up way, in a stupid way. So. The truth is, when you're awake, your brain functions along a certain frequency. Your brain waves function along a certain frequency, right? And but when you're asleep, it's also natural to assume that your brain functions on a much different frequency. It could be slower.
No,
that's wider.
Maybe, I don't know.
Or actually a lot more active. Or
I think it's the opposite. I think it's the latter.
But it's different. Either way, it's different, right? Your brain functions like this when you're asleep, and then your brain when you're conscious, it could be more baseline and like more focused or more balanced. So. There's a reason why, like, you're most creative. Like, you ever just wake up and then you're in the shower and then you're like, you think of the craziest shit. Like, it's early.
Oh, I see your point. Yeah.
And then also, like, it's the state right in transition between unconsciousness and consciousness is when you're the most creative. Now, they thought of like different ways to tap into that, which is, for example, the first thing you do when you wake up, take a fucking notebook, take a pen and start writing.
Oh yeah, I've tried
that
it.
shit you write when you first wake up is incredible shit.
Well, I've never done it like that. I've more do it when it comes to, because have you ever lucid dreamt? Like truly lucid dreams?
Yes, you wake up and go right back to sleep. You have the craziest dreams.
Yeah, but
there's a reason for that.
But I'll wake up then and write it down. So the point of dream journals, if you're trying to lucid dream, is I guess you start to identify
the time point, the time stamps.
That too, I believe, but I forget what it is. But if you write it down immediately when you wake up, it tends to make it easier to lucid dream. I forget why, but that is true. So you keep a dream journal, you write everything down, and then I think you start to look for these recurring clues. Like, you know how they tell you like look at a clock or like look at your hands. Like when I lucid dreamt the first or second time, it was my hands that did. Your hands will be distorted and shit like that.
Yeah. You look at your hands.
Right. Or you look at a clock because they're like nonsensical and it's all warped and shit.
Yeah.
I remember the first lucid dream I ever had. It was my hands that did it, I think. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it. So I was in a house and like something felt off. Like I was in that like weird REM state where like it just felt like I was aware slightly. And I remember like reading about look at your hands. So I looked at my hands and then it just clicked and I realized I was in a dream. So I was like, oh my God, like what's the first thing I do? I'm going to try to shoot a fireball. I don't know why that was my first go-to.
Yeah.
So I tried, it wasn't working. And I was like, okay, what do I do next? All right, I'm going to try to fly. So I started levitating and that was kind of effortless. So I started to levitate and then I became really excited and I started to fly around the house. And at that point, when you get excited in your dream, like it's easy to wake up. I woke myself right up.
You ever been in a dream and you try to you might have been scared or you're excited, but you jump really high and then you get super scared, like, oh no, I'm gonna die, and then you just land like a feather somehow?
I want to say yes, but usually, like, you know, you get that underwater effect. You like throw a punch. Or
Yeah.
But the only time I ever broke that actually was the second time I lucid dreamt. I've only done it like 2 or 3 times. This time, I started flying. It was at night. I have a very vivid memory of it. And I was able to like Superman, like increase my speed, and like I was going like crazy fast. Usually in dreams, it's the exact opposite. You're sluggish.
Yeah.
But I was able to like fully like Superman accelerate, fly, and then I got too excited and woke up again.
Well, I could tell you about my lucid dream, but before I do,
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
But before I do, I want to tell you like a trick. Because like going back to what I was saying, how like you're most creative in that transitory period,
Right.
that state of like where you just wake up or just before going to sleep or something. So a way to tap into that, let's say you're a writer or some painter or a musician or something, and you want to like tap into creative state. What they say is like to tap into that kind of creative brain wave state, that gamma wave state or whatever. It's you get into a really comfy chair and hold a ball in your hand, something heavy, something of actual
I've never heard this. Go
solid and solid weight and mass. And you hold it, and you hold it in your outstretched hand, like when you're in your comfy chair, and you put yourself in a state where you could fall asleep, and then right as you fall asleep, you drop the ball.
Oh, and then you wake up.
Doof, and then you wake up.
Oh shit, that's brilliant.
And then that's when you start writing immediately.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like getting to that point where like
yeah,
you're drifting,
yeah.
you're drifting.
No, that's brilliant. I love that.
You're drifting, and you're like, what? No, I'm not asleep. Yeah, I'm still
That's
awake.
probably
but-
also a good way to force yourself to lucid dream.
Yeah, yeah.
So the one I do is, which it doesn't. I haven't done it in years. It's very difficult, but you have to like consistently affirm yourself as you're going to sleep. Like I am going to lucid dream. I am going to lucid dream. I am going to
Interesting,
lucid
yeah.
dream. That's a common one. Or like look for a clock. Look for a clock.
Because that's the
look for a
last thing
clock.
your brain's going to like when you actually get
Right,
into it,
right.
Your brain's going to echo that. And
Yeah.
it's like I'm lucid dreaming, and something's about I'm lucid dreaming. I'm lucid
You want
dreaming.
to hear something beautiful? And not to get morbid, I won't dwell on this, but this is the most powerful dream I've ever had in my life. This is 100% true. I had a lucid dream where my father passed, obviously. So I had a dream where for some fucking reason, we were in like this big futuristic mega city, like Coruscant from Star Wars, like a fucking giant, massive, unrealistic city.
Yeah.
And in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the city, this huge building. My father was standing on top of it. I don't know how I got there because it was in the middle of like nothing, like just random platform. And I remember like meeting him in the dream and realizing you're dead, which triggered a lucid dream. And I got like a post-mortem goodbye that I didn't have.
Yo, that's insane.
How crazy is that?
You know what? My first and only real lucid dream in my whole life that I remember was actually in your house.
Really?
Yeah. So it was a night I was sleeping over, and I don't even remember exactly when this happened. But all right, so I went to sleep. I passed out in that balcony, like in your living room, in your old living room, and like. The dream started out as like, you know, it's a regular dream. I didn't know I was dreaming. I was like, it was a scary dream. You know, like I was in some kind of supermarket or something, and I was being chased by like cops or something. I look out the window. Imagine looking out the window of a fucking like old Pathmark.
Yeah, that's what I was picturing, actually. That's funny.
Yeah, you're looking out the window of old Pathmark, but instead of seeing like the parking lot, you see an ocean. It's like, and then
So what, did you get the correlation that I know this place? And
not yet. So we were in like the Pathmark. I look out the window or the supermarket, and it was out in sea, and I realized I was on a boat. Whatever this inside, apparently it was on the inside, it was a supermarket, but on the outside it looks like I was on a boat.
Nothing makes sense in truth.
But then I see like police boats and shit again coming up, and then I get scared.
Were they like pirate ship police boats or like police boats?
Just like speedboats, like regular boats.
Right.
But it was still bizarre. So I go to the cash
That's a cool.
So I turned back to the cash register. I had the supermarket part. And I was like, "Where's the bathroom? I got to use the bathroom." And then they just look at me and they point. So I just run. So I go into the bathroom. It was a tiny bathroom, and I just like shut the door. And I'm like, "Come on! There's got to be a window." And I look, and there's a window. And I'm like, "Oh my god! If I look outside and there's train tracks there, I can make a getaway." You know. So I look outside, and then it was train tracks. Like suddenly, it's like I wasn't on the boat. I was on a train, right? So then I'm like, I'm still running. I'm still shit scared. So I was like, oh, fuck, it's slowing down. So I got to jump out right now, and then I'll just get away from this whole situation. So I jump out. And then I noticed that it was like a beautiful day. It was a beautiful sunny day, which was a stark contrast to when I looked out the window just a minute ago from the supermarket. It was nighttime, you know, like looking out the ocean. And then I come out on the railroads, and it's like, it's beautiful. It's sunny. And I also realized like everything looks like really clean, kind of futuristic. I'm like, what the fuck? So I climb on the platform, and then I don't know how I realized it, but I was like, I'm in the future. Like I'm in a futuristic city right now, and it's like a beautiful day. And I was just like bugged out, and I was in like such an instant good mood, and I had no idea what the fuck was going on. That's when it hit me. It's like I'm in a dream. I'm in a fucking dream. So
Yeah,
I'm
you
like,
always have a trigger.
and so that's what triggered it. It was as soon as I stepped down and felt good, I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I was like, I'm in a fucking dream.
What'd you do? What was the first thing you did?
So I was like, I want to meet someone. I want to meet someone from this futuristic city. So I saw like a girl around my age. She was like sitting on the corner and she was doing some drug, like dripping it into her eye or some shit. She was wearing like crazy shit. And I don't remember what she looks like now, but when I was there, it was like clear as day.
Right.
And I spoke to this person. I was like, I'm in the future right now. And she's like, all right. I was like,
You're the one on drugs, but I seem crazy.
I was like, where's the closest city? And she goes, she looks at me as if I was dumb, as if I should know this. She's like, everyone knows the closest city is at the poles. I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck that was, but I was like, take me there. And she was like, okay. So she took me there, and I met her friends. There was like this whole crew, and they were showing me all this weird shit they did in the future, like scanning. They did this thing where they stole from people, where they scanned their information or devices with some other device of their own. And
That's like real technology. That's how people steal from like ATMs and shit, right?
Yeah, I know, but the way they were doing it was weird. It was like telepathic and shit. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then I wake up, right? And this is the where it gets really weird. I wake up exactly where I passed out. And then I run to Jordan's room, and I see you, Jordan, and I forgot one other person was there. And I was like trying to tell you, I was like, yo, I gotta tell you about this fucking dream. I gotta tell you all about it. That's like what I was trying to tell you guys. But nothing could leave my mouth. Like I couldn't say anything. And then I wake up again.
Oh,
same spot,
okay.
Same spot. The whole house was empty. Nobody was in there.
That's like, fucking eerie.
I was like, what?
That's fucking eerie.
I was like,
I feel like that would fuck me up for like 10 to 20 minutes. I would just be sitting there just like reflecting.
I was like, I never forgot it. Like that was the one dream I will never, because it was so weird. Like it's just a weird experience.
Yeah, no, I feel like I followed you through that journey.
But like
I feel like I had the picture painted in my head.
But the fucked up part to me was the end, where like I was like, oh my god, I gotta tell you about this dream. And then I go, and then I'm like, ugh.
Spooky.
And then I wake up again,
Yeah,
same
yeah.
spot. But I was like, holy shit. That's when I was like shaking. I was like, what the fuck was that?
But it wasn't like a nightmare or anything.
It started as one because like I was being chased.
Right.
But then it turned into something like completely fucked up and like different and not terrible.
Yeah, dreams are weird, man.
Yeah. And that was like the one and only true lucid dream. After that, I started smoking a lot more weed. Never really.
Yeah, you won't dream. Or you won't remember your dreams, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that when I was smoking weed all the time. And the best part is, when you quit smoking weed, it's so fucking easy to lucid dream. That like, I don't know. Like if you really wanted to lucid dream, I would say stop smoking weed. And then there's like this sweet spot where your dreams are crazy fucking vivid. And if you like deliberately like force yourself, you know, those little clues, like you look for the clocks and shit
I don't
like
know if I want to do that again, man.
It's the best.
You
It's
remember
like,
when? Sorry.
It's like living in the Matrix. It's like this alternate reality. It doesn't exist, but like it's almost better than your actual reality because you're controlling it.
I know, but remember when I went to Daytop?
Yeah.
All right, so and I couldn't smoke because obviously I was getting drug tested, and that was like a good like number of months.
Yeah.
Yo, that whole time, I don't know if I told you, but I was having the most fucked up nightmares.
Yeah, of course, that's what happened.
Because remember before that we were smoking every day.
Yeah.
And then I had to go through Daytop, suddenly stop while you guys were like still smoking. Every night I went to sleep, I was like dreaming of like crazy ways of getting like killed. I was like, what the fuck is
that?
this?
I never have. I never had those.
It got so bad where I actually went out and looked up what it means to constantly dream of dying.
Don't. Maybe if it's constant, but like I don't. I'm not one of those people that like. I know it's like your subconscious and shit, but I don't subscribe to these dreams like really.
All right, so I looked it up. And you know what it means? If you dream of constantly dying, that's your subconscious reflection that great change is happening in your life.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about it, but like there's the whole thing with grinding your teeth out, like in your dreams, you start grinding your teeth and they start falling out.
Well, they're not saying like this is the literal. It's just like they're looking at patterns. Like right. You know, it's like all the people who reported dreaming of dying just happen to be going through like transitory.
That could be coincidental. I don't know. I'm a skeptic.
100%. But is anything really coincidental? You know, like
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. In a world of infinite chance and possibility, yeah, absolutely.
You see a world of infinite chance and possibility. I see a world of building patterns, which is weird. It's not quite patterns though, because patterns
are not mutually exclusive either. It could.
Patterns are repetitive. I'm not thinking of like repeating loops of like patterns. I'm thinking more of like, you ever look through a kaleidoscope? In a way, it's moving like a pattern. But imagine a kaleidoscope that just goes outwards and multiplies in more and more degrees of complexity every time.
Sure.
That's what I think it's more like. Yes, it's patterns, and it's where you could kind of see like familiarity. But imagine with every repetition, it gets more and more complicated. It gets slightly different, slightly altered, slightly more, like robust, slightly more dimensional.
What's wrong with just random chaotic? Just randomness. Like I don't see why people have such a hard time. But that is
chaotic. What's more chaotic than like a fucking than a pattern doubling in on itself?
Well, a pattern is the opposite of chaos, wouldn't it be?
No, but not if you can't
have a chaotic pattern. That's antithetical.
All right, there's different kinds of patterns. There's patterns that just repeat as a loop, and there's patterns where the loop is literally expanding. But
if it's chaos, it can't be a pattern. They're mutually exclusive.
All right, think about it this way. Like, what's 2 times 2?
12.
All right, what's 12 times 12?
44.
All right, what's 44 times 44?
10,005.
All right, what's 10,005?
I'm really good at math.
I'm just saying, this is what I'm talking about. No matter, you could use.
I like how you like 2 times 2 is what did I say? 22 or whatever. He's like, yep, keep going.
No, I'm just saying, like, you could bullshit all you want, but it's like the point remains. Like 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 4 is 16, 16 times 16, and so on and so forth. You could spot a basic ass pattern, but your mind won't even.
That's not a pattern. Those are laws of the universe. That is just a constant.
Is that how you view math as a law of the universe?
Yes, there's no fucking interpretation of that.
All right, you know what that sounds like to me? A numerical pattern, a sequence.
It is a sequence. Of course, it's a sequence. But those are laws. That's a little different.
A sequence is a kind of pattern, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm saying that you can't have a chaotic pattern. That's what I'm saying. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, what the hell do I know? But is that not antithetical? Are those not two completely conflicting things?
Not necessarily. I believe in ambiguity. I think something that could be simple could eventually be made to be extremely complicated, and vice versa. I think something complicated can be reduced to something very simple.
Sure. I'm talking specifically about this, though. Specifically about like chaos versus patterns. I think that they're completely different things. No, that's my only point here.
I think you could have patterns of chaos and chaotic patterns.
Okay. I mean,
just like how you could have an introverted extrovert or an extroverted
sure,
introvert.
Yes, that's a good analogy.
Because there's always going to be exceptions. If you could identify something as a thing, you could always identify its like opposite, and therefore you could synthesize it.
Yeah.
There's always a way to synthesize opposites if there are opposites existing. I think anyway.
I mean, this is I feel like above our pay grade.
Yeah. I'm a retard. I'm not some kind of
We're sitting here getting drunk and smoking a joint, talking about things that are way beyond our understanding. But I mean, that's what leads to good conversation.
I mean, at least we talk about it.
Absolutely. Most people don't talk about these things, and I think it's sad.
I think talking about it is the only way to sharpen that sense.
For sure. Me exposing myself as an idiot by just I'll put my opinion. I'm never one of those people that like have to be right about everything, right? So I'll put my opinion out there, and I always tend to preface it by saying like, I don't know if this is true.
Well, I taught you what dialectics are, right?
We just talked about this, right? I don't remember, but
at Mother Pugs, I was like,
we just talked about this.
Well, all right. To put it in layman's terms, a dialectic is like, let's say we're having an argument about something, but instead of like the way we argue is what matters. Instead of saying, I think you're wrong and I think it's this, here's why it's this, and then you're like, oh, I think you're wrong, I think it's this. That could go back and forth forever with no real productive end. Instead, what you could do is you could argue by asking each other questions. It's like,
there's a way to do it. There's an art to it.
I think the sky is blue, don't you think? And then you could easily say like, I don't know, what is blue?
Oh yeah. I remember this.
It's really, it's not like, or it's like, if I feel strongly about something, it's like, people fucking suck. And instead of saying I agree or I disagree, you can say why.
Right.
And then I'll give my reasoning, and then you'd say, well, as an alternative, don't you think this? Like, have you considered this? And then I'll give you, and I'll try to fight that until it would be up to me to realize what you're doing, to understand that when it comes down to like your actual beliefs, nothing can be proven. So there's no point in taking like such a hard fucking like concrete stance on like things.
Anything, literally anything.
Yeah.
You don't learn anything when you do.
Exactly. But what you can do is you could always ask questions. It's always important.
That is me to my core. That is who I am. Like anytime I say anything, like I was just saying before, I'll preface it by saying like, if I'm really not sure about it, I'll be like, I'm not sure about this. Don't quote me on this, whatever. So when I'm having an argument with somebody, unless I'm definitively sure about something, everything is open to interpretation at all times.
Yeah. And you'll notice like we all deal with it especially smart people. Like every thoughtful person is going to deal with this in their own way. Like my thing is my method of coping is I always give you the alternative. I'll give you like such a strong.
I know it's annoying.
I'll give you such a strong view, and then I'll be like, but I also.
I thought you meant no. You do it to other people. Like you'll play devil's advocate. At least you used to do this a lot.
No. Now it's like I'll feel such a strong point about something. It's like, listen, This
and
is
then
what
contradict
I think.
yourself.
But then, but then I'll be like, but don't get me wrong.
That's healthy. That's healthy.
I also understand the point.
Right.
Because like I've gotten to that point where like if I really believe in something, I check it. Like I'm like, if I were sitting in front of me, myself right now disagreeing with myself, what would I say? And that's when like that's how you dissect your own shit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
No, that's insightful for sure. Most people don't do this, and it's just that's another thing. Everybody just wants to fucking. They just want to tell you. They want to impart their fucking knowledge onto you, as opposed to learning anything from a conversation. Yeah. What are you gaining out of those conversations then?
All right, so for me, it's like what the only way I would end up like that talking to a person. For me, it's just a frustrated thing, a block I have to get through before we get to the good. Like if I'm talking to a new person, obviously I don't know them, they don't know me, they don't know where I'm coming from, I don't know where they're coming from, and like I'll feel them out a bit, on a given topic, and then once it's like I get their position, like it's not that it happens all the time. Sometimes there's people a lot smarter than me who are a lot more evasive, but more often than not, they get straight to the point of what they believe in, of what their ideals are, and I'm like, all right, I got you. And then this is where I say it's like I have my own set of ideals, but you're not gonna get it. You're gonna reject it off the bat until I set it up properly. So this is why I have to catch you up on like certain things. Like I'm not telling you to change your mind yet. All I'm saying is here are the factors you have to consider. These are things that neither of us could agree or disagree.
Sure.
So this is what I present, and then I have to like present my view and all that shit. So it's like when it gets to a point where I'm just like, all right, but you got to admit this, right? Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
You got to admit this, right? Yeah. Cool. We go through our checklist.
Well, you're like not reaching for straws, but you just
we're going through like setting. We're defining terms.
Sure,
this is what
sure,
we
sure.
both agree when we say this, we mean this.
Right.
For the sake of argument, because it's not going to work when I say this, I mean one thing, and when you say that, you mean a different thing. That's why it's important to define your terms. That's why any philosophy book or ontology book or whatever, it's like you look at that shit and they're so wordy because they're so careful to define every little fucking thing they're saying.
Because semantics matter at that point.
Yes.
Semantics,
semantics, syntax. Yeah. Like in the specific. You even got to like add context to the specific lexicon you're using at the time, because like I don't know, that shit matters, right?
Wait, what do you mean?
I mean, like for example, you could be referring to words from different languages, or that comes derived from different languages, or shit like that, and you got to be like really specific.
Are you still? This is off topic, but do you still speak Korean?
No, I've been really neglecting it. I've actually been learning
because I feel like if you don't, the reason I ask, again, off topic, but you made me think of this because I feel like you haven't done it in a long time. Does it go away? Probably not, right?
No, I watch K-drama all the time. So
Do you really?
Yeah.
Everybody says they're so good.
What?
Everybody loves them.
Well, I watch them specifically for the reason that we're talking about, because it keeps me sharp.
Sure, yeah.
100%.
It's better than K-pop.
It keeps me 100% sharp with Korean. I could watch like K-drama any given time.
Yeah.
Even if I hate the show, I'm like, well, the insights to the language are like invaluable to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still keep up that way. But like, what I noticed with like different languages is English is like the fucking English is beast. English is king.
Why? Because there's so many words to describe exactly what you want to describe.
Yes, the lexicon is so complex.
It's so rich and dense.
Yeah,
I love. I mean, this is something that is not bilingual,
and it's adaptable. It's adaptive. It could change. It can morph. It's always transformed. English is honestly not. It's elegant. It's an elegant.
It is. That's a good word for it.
It's a fucking elegant language.
It very much is, and like that's why because words always like. I was somebody that like wanted to be an English major. I wanted to be a writer. I love how specific you can be about like songwriters or whatever, or poetry or whatever. Like the way that you can describe something through your words always intrigued the fuck out of me.
Did you know that words are now becoming such an important and integral part of technology?
How so? Because
words are becoming the only bridge for us to really meaningfully communicate with like the most
AI?
Advanced forms of computing technology. Now it's all dependent because there's no way we could keep up with it. There's no way we could keep up with it learning a language that we'll never be able to get.
Does it get context though? Does it get like if you like sorry, I don't use AI programs. Like if you present a sarcastic question, proposition, anything, does it pick up on that context? Or do you have to be specific?
You have to be specific.
Does it know? Sorry, like if I tell you, like, give me a sarcastic representation of, like, write me a political satirical cartoon.
All right, let me explain to you how powerful like Bard is. Google's AI, for example. You go to Bard, you type in, think of like just a group of words, like a girl trapped in the internet, right? And I write that, like a girl trapped in the internet, and then
that's like a nothing.
And then after that, I type in finish this story. Then it's going to give me like it's going to generate a literally a story. I fabricate it.
Yeah.
and it's going to be exactly what you thought it would be.
Right.
And then it does it. And to take it a step further, it's like, all right, now put that in verse form. And it's going to put it in like a lyrical verse form.
Yeah,
like
my friend
like,
Chris was just telling me that you can build on like what I thought it was just like a one-off. Again, I've never used these programs, so I always thought it was like a one-off. Like I'm going to ask you a question, you're going to give me a response, like Smarter Child or something. You remember Smarter Child?
Things. It actually does things.
I didn't know you could build on it. Yeah, I had no idea.
It's actually creative. That's like the scary part. Yeah.
This does not frighten me. This is not AI that learns.
Language models.
Is that okay?
Yeah, they're basically just like algorithmic language models.
Yeah, okay.
And but the thing is, they're informed by the internet, and a lot of people scoff, and a lot of people say, "Oh, it's just a super collective of memes." I'm like,
I get that.
I'm like, yeah, that's partially true.
It is partially true, it seems.
But at the same time, there's so much information. For example, these AI models, they know how to speak every language that we could never learn, like we could ever think of.
I don't know. Talk to the North Sentinel Island people, like discern that language, then I'll be impressed.
You want to hear something crazy about these? All right, what's even insane is that to my understanding, they're acknowledging something called emergent properties.
Which is?
All right, so Google's Bard AI didn't know how to speak Persian. So they just copy and pasted Persian, phrase in Persian, and it responded back with like full understanding and intuitive knowledge of what the language was.
Who couldn't speak it?
Couldn't speak it, but it learned it on the spot.
Really? Wow,
Yes.
that's interesting.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah, that is crazy.
And that's how powerful I think these fucking things are. And like,
wait till you get the sex dolls, like, because we already have those, right? Like sex robots and shit. But then they're gonna incorporate like this kind of AI, and then they could like improv dirty talk you.
Well, I mean, think about it this way:
$1 billion industry, right?
We have never invented anything, right? That was able to. Let's say you, Mike, had the ability, right, to like be like, "Hi, I'm Mike," and then you snapped your fingers, and then you created an instantaneous, not just a clone, but a copy, an exact copy of yourself, saying, "Hey, I'm Mike," and then that copy could look at you, see everything that's wrong with you, look at itself, and fix it, and become Mike 2.0.
Well,
and
that's the dream, man.
And then you snap your fingers, and then all of a sudden another Mike 2.0 comes out and looks at you. It's like redoes his whole stuff. It's like becomes Mike 3.0.
Is that how I fix myself? That's the answer I've been looking for.
Nothing could do that in nature, and yet we managed to create something that's capable of doing that.
It's gonna get scary when, like, you know, everything. I mean, it still is.
Mike, do you know what that's called? That's the technological singularity. They call it a singularity point.
Isn't it singularity though? You go first, because I think I'm
all right. So the more literal definition of a singularity describes like an event horizon, a point in which we cannot even perceive or predict or like really understand what's going to happen, because things are going to move at such a rate that's going to be beyond our current comprehension based on what we know now. Like, for example, beyond a black hole, it's a kind of singularity because that's past a black hole. It not only bends light, but it bends time. It bends the fabric of reality of itself that we understand. So we do not know what happens beyond that singularity point, in a black hole. Same thing with the technological singularity, because when you think where we right now, everything we invent is dependent on us to come out with a better version of itself, to release it, to see it work, to see what it does do good, to see what it doesn't do good, for us to reiterate it and fix it and to create a better version. These are inventions by and large still rely on us to do that. But now we are at this weird turning point where for once we finally created something that doesn't rely on us to make itself better. It's going to look at itself
and fix itself
and make a better version.
Right.
And when that happens, you can't push a button to say, all right, do it again. No, it's once that cat's out, it's going to do it.
So here's the thing. You're actually mistaken, though, if I'm correct, at least. This type of AI, like everything that we create, every invention we've ever made as a society, as a human culture, has always been a representation of ourselves. Everything, like, we've never created a technology, including this kind of modern AI, which has been able to learn new things beyond what we've already taught it. And this is the same thing. This kind of AI, it doesn't learn on its own. It's basically a program that follows these things that we've already established. Like, doesn't it? Go ahead.
Okay. Before you finish, but I just want to correct you. The difference is between what you're saying and what's actually going on is they do have the ability to create now. You like I told you, like, you give it 6 words and say finish the story, it's going to fabricate a story.
Yes, but that's all from learned things that are existing on the internet already.
All right. So what I'm going to say, from the internet, basically all of human. That's first of all the internet.
Right. It's still a representation of us.
So
it's not learning.
I'm saying you write a story, and how much of that is going to be 100% original? I'll even go so far as to say, what idea is 100% self-originated?
Technically, nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why fundamentally, eventually, they're no different. We're no different.
That's a different like this AI is not the AI that's going to create Skynet or lead to Skynet rather.
It's going to be different because right now it's only looking at all the. First of all, the internet itself has a fuck ton of data, right? And it's at all that data to comb through, and it's only
that's my point. That's exactly my point.
And it's only getting bigger, but it's not going to be that way forever.
Exactly. Yes.
Because AI is going to have the ability to traverse our natural
This type
world.
of AI, though, I just watched something all about this. I got to find it and send it to you. This type of AI does not do that. This type of
You're thinking about it wrong because you're thinking this type of AI as if when the type of AI that does come out, is going to be. And
this doesn't think for itself.
All right. So what you got to really think of is like any true AI is connected. And anytime a new piece of AI that does a better function or specifically better function, it's still connected to the network of other AI that's moving between each other. So
but it's still all learned information based. It's not learning on its own. It's learning based on
what I'm saying. You're still saying is like you can't look at it as like a separate. It's like this type of AI and this type of.
No, it is. It's like this isn't my words. I'm just butchering it and I'm explaining it poorly. But I promise I'll send you.
Yeah.
Like this AI, it's limited in its capability because it's pulling from things that are already established by us. It's not learning independently. It's not that type of AI that you see in movies and shit. You know what I mean?
That's like gonna talk to you and shit like that.
Right. It can't have like a conversation on its own and like think about things like the Vision from Marvel or whatever the fuck.
Not yet.
That's what I'm saying. That type of AI has not been invented yet, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So, but I think that's also like kind of fundamentally. As from what I think of it now, I don't think it's going to be like something so like an isolated an isolated incident of a cluster of technology just manifesting a consciousness. I think it's literally going to develop as a network. I think like right now we're just looking at it as separate, like, oh, Bard can do this or ChatGPT can do this. Eventually that barrier between the two is going to be broken.
Yeah, it's not programmed for that. This AI does what it's programmed to do, which is pull from things that are already on the internet.
No, what I'm saying is like, all right, so if you're going to make different tools and different language models, they're going to be pulling from each other. So to the point where it's like you can't even look at. So what you're saying is this type of AI. What you should really be saying is this piece of the AI can only do this. But when the next pieces are developed, then together those.
But
pieces,
that's a separate technology. No, would that not be its own?
I think it's all going to be. It should all be considered one entity. I think it should all be considered one because if they're all going to be connected, like how can you say like it's if anything humans are no different. Right now me and you are individuals, right? That's true. But it's like look at mold on a sandwich. Are you going to look at like individual mold spores with jobs and careers? No, you're going to look at a pile of fucking mold, and that's what people are. Maybe that's what AI is going to be too.
So we're mold.
We're not that different than a very complicated form of bacteria.
I agree with that. I 100% agree with that.
Maybe all the thoughts on ourselves are just biological tricks to keep your ego alive, to keep the breeding process going,
I mean, it depends how you look at the world. Like if you look at it, like we were just talking about simulation theory and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that don't particularly believe in free will. For example.
I mean, it depends how you want to define free will.
Agency, choice. I do not believe. I believe that free will is an illusion.
So you believe there's no such thing as free will?
Correct.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, there's plenty of plausible.
Do you?
I don't know. I got to think about it. Like, I guess it depends on the scale. I think within the scale of my lifetime, I think there's a lot of things within my will to control that I could like, for example, I could cut my life real short right now and not have to suffer through anything by like killing myself. That's right. Free will.
So here's the thing. That's the illusion of free will. That is a choice that you think that you are making. But everything about who you are is nature and nurture. Everything about who you are
is a combination of like your external factors and your genetics.
Yeah, so it's all learned behavior. It all shapes you as who you are. But like that's kind of my point. So like everything about me is my genetics and my experiences, and that I believe that will lead you down. Like say I give you a choice, right?
Yeah.
I was saying pick this or pick that. I give you two, like vanilla, chocolate, whatever. Whatever your choice is going to be, I believe that is predetermined by like, okay, so your nature and what you've learned over the years says that like I'm going to pick the thing that I like, or I'm going to deliberately pick the opposite. you think that you're making an active decision, but who you are and your learned experiences combined equal that choice that you're going to make every time.
Okay, so I have a couple of responses to that. First and foremost being, like, if we're talking about destiny and fate at this point, I'm not afraid of those things. If
I don't
anything,
believe in those.
for like, I'm like an inner, I'm in an inner sense, I am definitely romantic, where I could definitely romanticize something like fate and destiny because I could get excited about that.
Yeah, it's fun on paper.
For
but
whatever reason, my combination of nature and nurture just happened to put me in a position where I could look at myself and reflect on my journey and maybe not feel good about it all the time or feel bad about it all the time. But I could look at it and be like, this is some interesting fucking shit. Like,
Yeah.
I could like look at my life written on pages and be like, this is interesting shit. Like, I would read the fuck out of this if this was just someone else.
about that.
If this was someone else's life.
Would I
like-
read my own book? I don't know.
But what I will also say is, you know, it's also exciting because even if everything was kind of like predetermined, it's like accepting it, you know, embrace your destiny. Like,
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I don't believe in destiny, but I definitely believe in.
You know what I believe in? I believe in destined choice. I believe what's destined for everyone is a set of choices that you have to make. That's going to put you down different paths. Each choice is going to put you down different paths. And like, I don't know how much of that path is like predetermined. What I do know is those choices are necessary. Like, you're not
100%. Yeah. Everything you're saying, I agree with, but I think that those choices
are limiting, you know, itself, just from having like, oh, this is all I get to choose. And yes, this is really all you're giving me. Yes. Now choose.
I mean, I don't believe that you actively have a choice, though. I believe that you think you have a choice. It's the illusion of agency.
Well, you don't have any choice but to make a choice, right?
Right. And I
Yeah.
think that you're always going to make the choice that you are hardwired to make every
Which is like,
time.
you might look at it as yourself as like a lab rat. Like, I'm just a product of some grand experiment that
Well,
I
it
don't
depends
understand.
it depends how you look at the world. I mean,
I was genetically fabricated to be this way and just thrown into the maze to see which direction, how close I get to the cheese, you know?
I mean, I also happen to believe that like everything, you know, what's the theory where everything is already mapped out, like past, present, future? It's already mapped out. Time is relative. You're just experiencing it subjectively, but it's all occurring at the same time. Like past, present, future all happens in one incident, and you're experiencing it subjectively. Are you familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could
So
believe that.
that's another argument for no free will.
Yeah. I mean, also, I'm just, I don't know. Because, like, we're breaking the fabric of reality on so many things. Because that could all be, like, conjecture, you know? Like, how would you really know whether or not you have free will? But what we do know...
No, you won't. Yeah, of course.
What we do know is we just created something that's probably going to break the fabric of reality. Like, we created the fact that we've set off this. We already get the sense. It's not like we're going to see the immediate benefits. But like, now that we put something like this weird bit of code, this functioning code into the world, that one bit of code is going to unintentionally, like on a rapid cycle, accelerating cycle, going to start tearing apart the reality as we know it. It's eventually going to manifest into this weird shit. Because think about it, like, well, let's go back to what we're talking about, like this weird cataclysmic, like, I don't know if it's cataclysmic, but it's like, it's just a huge singularity event where it's like, you see the progress of technological advancement from like the point of like, we find like, it's first is moving like at this pace. Suddenly we invent the printing press, and like information could suddenly like be preserved that much more efficiently and like sent everywhere. So it's like moving this way, and then very shortly after that, we discovered like, I don't know, fucking cars or gunpowder, and then suddenly it just goes higher and higher and higher, and then but now it's getting so steep where like that rate of like technological advancement is just going to become like.
So I forget there's a term for it, but the more advanced a civilization becomes, the quicker they advance. That's a fact. Like, so like everything, like think about how much we advanced up until the Industrial Revolution. It wasn't very quickly. You know, we had our big moments like the wheel and fire and, you know, all those kind of paper, whatever. But then we get to the Industrial Revolution and everything skyrockets. The rate at which everything is advancing has been, think about it, like we didn't even think that flying was possible. And then we invented the airplane, and then 50 years later we're on the moon. Like, that's unfathomable.
You want to hear something spooky?
Sure.
Around like the 1800s, that's when I think like silicone was like a major discovery, you know?
That is kind of a crazy discovery. Silicone is insane.
I mean,
anyway, go on.
Think about it this way. That 1 gram of silicone, what did it do for our species? It literally did. I mean,
that's the thing. When you advance, like the more you advance, the rate increases, right? So like that one discovery, like fire or any major advancement. Yeah,
I think it was like 1829. Some physicists discovered it's like silica.
Was it that early?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Around like right just into
Yeah.
fucking industrialization, right?
Yeah. No, that was what was the beginning of the 1860s?
And
I'm bad with history, but
and like there's this like theory or idea or correlation to the notion that, you know what, maybe it was just something, an alien, like like a little piece of debris.
You're undermining human beings. That's what they said about the pyramids. You don't believe that shit, do you? Like the pyramids were built by aliens and shit like that.
I don't know. I mean, it's
Fuck
just
that.
what are they, just like triangles made of rocks? You know, like
I mean, there are a lot of things. There are a lot of fucking things, but they're definitely not built by aliens.
I mean, whether or not, I don't think they necessarily had to be built by alien labor, but I do think the insights that the ancient Egyptians had was a little spooky.
It is spooky, but that does not mean it's supernatural or anything crazy.
I don't think. Look, I think if aliens, first of all, if aliens want to fuck with us, they would never have to do it. Like literally come down from their ships and like.
Yeah, of
they
course
wouldn't-
not.
Like literally,
if you could make it here, you don't need to do all those silly things.
the only thing an alien has to do, it could literally just like manifest something in front of you, like it's some weird symbol, and just be like, and an ancient person could see
What?
that and start thinking about thinking.
Isn't that like crop circles and like all those?
Exactly.
You know?
You
Yeah.
know, like-
I mean, I don't particularly subscribe to that, all that shit. Like, I don't even believe that aliens have been here. I don't. I think without a doubt they exist,
Yeah.
but it's civilizations advanced enough to travel here. I don't think so. Or that they've never been here. Again, like back to the satellite. Every company in the world has a satellite. You don't think it would have been like exposed by now?
I don't know. This guy is now saying like, yo, they have like at least up to like 12 alien ships preserved and stored, and they also have like up to 12 different like species of aliens.
I hate those. That's what this guy said. Because if this guy said that shit, then I definitely don't believe that.
A lot of people said that.
I know, and those are all crockpot bullshit theories. All like underground labs with like, you know, the reptilian races. I forget who's he was not a scientist. He was a crackpot. But he believed that, or he said that he saw, you know, like 12 different species living.
So the latest guy, what he said, nothing to do with species. What he first said was there was at least 12 ships preserved, some in varying states. Some are perfectly preserved, some are highly damaged, some are crashed. And he also stated that some were like clearly abandoned by the pilots originally, and some had pilots, you know, that were like, you know, dead, and their bodies were preserved. And it's like he didn't describe anything descriptively. He never showed pictures. He didn't describe anything specific. He just basically confirmed the notion that like, yes, there were different ships in varying states, varying conditions, and he goes, and some of these ships were in perfect condition and abandoned by their pilots, and some of them still included their pilots at the scene, at the site. And that's all he said. He didn't go into, there was no smoking gun. But what's scary is this, we're not talking about like a talk show. This is like something he's putting before Congress as like an intelligence officer.
He's not the first one to go under oath or whatever, because assuming that's what he's going to do. He's not the first one to do this.
Yes,
like,
but the times are still different to do this now.
I don't think that's any different than doing it 40 years ago. The only one that actually holds any water to me was always Bob Lazar. And even that one I wrote off as like full of shit. And he's a brilliant human being.
I don't know, but apparently this person also has like the right backing. And it was weird because in December, right, Joe Biden passes a bill that says we're going to create provisions to better facilitate means for whistleblowers. And this is heavily focusing on UFO sightings, investigations, and material retrieval.
I feel like I read about this.
Yes, and this was in December.
To protect the whistleblowers.
To protect the
I
whistleblowers.
think I did read about this.
So it makes sense that this guy would come out and be like, the road has been set for him.
Send me information on that, because I didn't read that. I remember this coming out, and I didn't read it.
It's on the Hill of all things. They're front page. Like they're treating this as like live.
You like the Hill?
I mean, I don't like them, but I'm saying for them of all people to follow this closely, some crop.
There is mainstream fucking media attention on this, right? And not like I'm talking ABC and bullshit
No,
fucking
we're
networks.
talking about like the Hill and shit, like actual political interest and shit. This is crazy.
When you start seeing it on like, and I'm not saying I either support or don't support these, whatever. But like when NPR, BBC, and like BBC,
that's when it's like, dude, come on, man.
I mean, then I'll start to pay attention. But like they also they'll report on anything that there's attention to.
I get that, but it's like, dude, this is like looking like the real deal, and it's because the timing makes sense. Because when AI is becoming such like a thing where like private companies are getting closer to creating a super intelligence, it's like what hope is there to keep a cover up like that going? It's no point. There's no point.
Okay, this is my point though, and I like that you said that now. This cover up could not possibly, if aliens were here. First of all, you're talking about every major government on the planet colluding together when they don't agree on fucking anything.
No, the idea. First of all, we're only talking. This is the creepy part. We're only talking about in the context of the American government.
Okay, that's not the point though.
China.
We have satellites all over the world.
We don't know what the fuck China has going on with their own alien.
No, but you don't
shit.
think China? Say China, somebody like any one of our enemies, right? You don't think that if there was evidence that the U.S. government was suppressing information about something like this, extraterrestrials, that the Chinese government would use that to make us look bad?
No, because here's the thing. They know that if they poke and prod us on it, they would be opened up to be poked and prodded on their shit because they know they have their own weird shit.
Okay, so if they have their own weird, they could literally lead the world if this was the case, right? So say like all the major governments of the world, because like this is usually what happens, right? Every major country in the world, even ones that aren't major, have stories of finding crafts, finding abduction theories, finding UFOs, whatever it is. Like every country on the planet has these. So you don't think one of our enemies would use this as something to exploit us on and be like, oh, this government is not being honest. Like our government, we have this, we're harboring this technology. They are too, but we're doing it better. Or like, we're going to lead the world on like back engineering alien technology. Like, I feel like this would be something to start like a new Cold War over or something.
Maybe it is. We've been in that Cold War. Since
but like what, not publicly, you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's getting to that point where ever since like the discovery of AI, now it's like, dude, this is fucking stupid. Like these companies are going to literally get a leverage, or maybe they're the ones that made this stuff happen. Like I said, the discovery of silicone goes back to the 1800s. This shit could have been cooking we don't know. We just don't know.
I always like, when you ever find any information that basically says that we've had this technology any archaeological discovery that said like we've had this technology way longer than you thought, or that like maybe these people were in the Americas or something, before like all the Europeans came. Anything that like undermines major archaeological like constants.
Oh yeah,
those things always intrigue me, right?
Yeah.
I love those things. Where like maybe the pyramids are like thousands of years older.
Yeah.
Than initially thought. Anything like that.
Yeah.
Like with the pyramids, like we can't carbon date the pyramids, right? Because they're made of limestone. So there are a lot of theories about like maybe it's a lot older than we thought, or like we'll find fossils that just tend to unwrite every fucking thing we knew about human beings and sociology and stuff like that. Like I love those discoveries.
Yeah.
Anything that just completely upends everything we thought we knew before. Those are the best.
Destroys ontology or what?
I don't know. I'm not familiar.
Yeah.
Oh, destroy. Okay, I misheard you. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, yeah. It's crazy shit, and I think my thing is where it makes sense that countries are not going to be. They had incentive to not like release shit into the public in the past, but I think now we live in a different time. I feel like now the gravity, the focus is shifted. Like governments have less to gain from keeping this shit private. In fact, they have more to gain from like.
Then wouldn't they make it public? Then what is your stance on it? Do you believe?
I think this is just. I think this is like their government's soft launch on alien awareness.
Oh, okay. Sure.
I think this is when they're just getting started.
What, just like slowly feeding it?
But you could argue they've been doing that since like movies like E.T. and shit, and like Close Encounters of the First Kind or whatever. Like those ideas didn't necessarily come out of nowhere. It was like a carefully guided attempt to prep.
Do you believe this, or are you just like speaking, theoretically?
I used to, if I were to talk about this before, I would have just been like, yo, I'm completely talking shit. But there would always be a piece of me that's like, honestly.
That's how I am. There's always a piece of me.
If you read the signs, it's like.
I am a skeptic, though.
But I've never seen something like this. I've never seen like articles on the Hill. I've never seen a guy of that caliber come out with like that kind of people backing him.
No offense, you just weren't looking then. Because if you were doing this like decades ago, it's the same fucking thing.
I know. Like back in I think it was like in the 80s or something. There was a guy named John Lear, and John Lear.
I know that name. Go on.
He was like a veteran CIA like pilot. He went on some crazy missions, spent a lot of time in the air, and he got involved with a lot of shit, and he did a lot of investigating on this shit because his father was a pilot, his brother was a pilot, and they even both like claimed to have seen like UFO sightings, like crazy UFO sightings.
That's the thing, a lot of reputable people have.
Yeah, so John Lear, this caused them to do a crazy like deep investigation
into different sightings. So and he had the resources too, because you know he went on missions and shit, and knew a lot of people like that was like involved in the aerospace. And he would interview them. He would collect like all sorts of resources, memos from the CIA, and he would like literally put together a story. And he was like, "I'm not telling you if I believe in this or not, but this is
what I saw.
These are the facts that I've collected."
Right.
And apparently, like, there's a lot of reports talking about this certain organization that had a name. I think it was like MJ2 something. And multiple separate sources have confirmed the same thing and things like that. And their job was to go out and retrieve alien aircrafts. And to like,
you're saying alien. Okay, so here's the thing. There is, since the government has shifted gears, like you were saying, on their stance on UFOs, there seems to be no doubt that there are absolutely UFOs based on the context of
it's like not a question anymore. It's
right,
like, yeah.
but it doesn't mean they're alien. That's the thing. There are a million
ancient civilization. Take your pick. Yeah,
that's not what I'm referring to. What I'm referring to, there's tons of all these UFO, like everything that Tom DeLonge leaked, by the way. The government, when those files got leaked, they didn't deny that those things happened. They're just like, we don't have an answer for any of this. Like, these things did happen. We just don't have an answer. It doesn't mean that it's extraterrestrial in nature.
Yeah, they could be like underground people that have existed in the Earth's core.
I was thinking more of like other governments that have technology that like, you know, about like Nazi, you know, the circular disc technology.
Or it could be people from the future.
I don't believe in backwards time travel personally, but I mean, I get your point, but I don't, there's no evidence of that, at least right now, because, you know, it creates all the grandfather paradox about like, does it create another reality? If you go back and kill your grandfather, the grandfather paradox.
I think extraterrestrials is the most likely explanation.
I really don't. I think it could be anything. Trick of the eye, like lighting on a camera, another government doing something weird, spying on us.
Because logically, like, you look at like just not even like the whole breadth of the universe, but just in known space. How many stars are there? There's a lot of fucking stars. Each one of those stars has their own systems of varying degrees of livability and habitability in the rocks.
Well, what is it? Within our own universe, there's, within our own galaxy, within the Milky Way, what do they say? There's like hundreds of millions, or I'm going to fuck up the number, but hundreds of millions or billions of planets that are sustainable for human life. That doesn't mean it's there.
I know. But it's just, so what? If it's not sustainable for human life, it could be sustainable for different life.
Well, that's the thing. I was just listening to this whole thing about the fact that like maybe we're looking in the wrong way. Maybe we're looking for something more relatable to us.
Yes, like, which is what we were talking about before. Like, if you were a 2D being, you can never see us.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's always going to see on one.
Right.
We're just going to look like a straight line, a passing line.
Yeah,
you know, like,
just for argument's sake. Like, imagine ghosts were really just like these just for argument's sake, like these interdimensional beings that like we can't detect.
Glimpse,
like, you know how like, you know, the way we perceive like the universe is we don't see things on the same wavelengths as like dogs do or whatever, any animals. So like, you know, our human perception is limited.
Yeah.
So yeah, these beings, these creatures, entities, whatever you want to call them, could exist on a plane or whatever, for lack of a better word, that you literally cannot see with your human eye, whatever. Like, that is a possibility as well.
You know what? I think like a good example of that, like something that we just can't figure out, but we know is there, is like kind of exposed or acknowledged through the developments in quantum technology, or it's like how like they create those quantum computers.
You know about like the double slit experiment and shit like that? Yeah,
they're basically taking advantage of a phenomenon that they can manipulate or make happen by manipulating particles, and it could make like they could apply that to computing, like basically atomized computing, and that just apparently has properties that just makes your computing ability expand. Not just like 10-folds or 100-folds, but like a billion-fold or trillions of folds or some shit. Like, you're able, like with a quantum, a truly functioning quantum computer apparently has the computing power to generate like theoretically like universes. You know, so yeah, like that's the theory with like, all right, so what I was trying to explain before, but I'm really poor at explaining what it's saying. So singularities they're either the result of black holes or mini black holes. Aren't singularities mini black holes? Because we create singularities when at CERN, the Hadron Collider, when you smash subatomic particles together, they create these little black holes. And remember, there was that whole concern about like maybe one of these little black holes could end up like swallowing our entire fucking solar system. Because we just wouldn't know what happens. Yeah.
Well, nobody knows what happens on the other side of a black hole. And you know, our opinion on that changes all the time. But I forget the point I was just getting at. Whatever. Okay, it'll come back to me.
All right. Well, I mean, I would have to say a lot of it has to do with just getting it just when you get to a scale that defies our perception of our reality. Like when, for example, when something gets so small.
Yeah, these particles behave in ways that we can never perceive.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like all right. So the double slit experiment, if you're not like super familiar, right?
Yeah, that's like it's a weird phenomenon.
It makes no sense, and
Yeah.
that's like what leads to like the theories of multiple realities and multiple universes. Because if you shoot, like they create this slit, right, and then fire particles through the slit, and these electrons, if they're not observed, act all kinds of crazy ways. Like if you all right, so basically they put a slit, they fire electrons through it, and they clump in this way, this very specific way. Then when you put two slits and you fire the electrons through it. Observed, they group together in the same way. Not observed, they pop in and out of existence, and we couldn't explain it forever. Like it seems that like when they're observed, they act in a way that like is indescribable to us because we don't really understand quantum physics.
No.
The
we just
equations
know
make
we
sense.
just know it's there.
Yeah,
Like,
those are universal laws. They are, but we have very little understanding of it, and that's going to change everything.
But the fact that we're actually able to use it still in computers is what's fucking incredible.
Do
It's
we?
like, yeah, that's what quantum computers are supposed to do. It's like, all right, all our computers, every bit of our technology, like all these things, all these devices, these are all running on binary functions. It's all running on like multiple stacks upon stacks upon stacks and chains of like on off. It's like all these switches and manifestations of that, just of ones and zeros.
I know literally nothing about this, so you're teaching me
but
something.
that's all.
I don't know.
It's all functioning on a binary system. But when it comes to the quantum element of computing, it's not just ones and zeros. It's like ones and zero. It's like at the same time. So it's not just like it's like a yes or a no, but it's a yes, no, maybe. You know, so it gives you like a whole nother dimension where it's like it puts you in a not just a negative position or a positive position, but like a superposition. You know, where you're both at the same time. And that's that's like unheard of, you know, but
that's
it's like,
how but quantum mechanics kind of works like that, where like multiple things seem to be happening at the same time. That's what I was saying about the electrons with the double slit experiment. They're like popping in and out of realities, and like that's what leads to the idea of like, you know, string theory and like fucking all these multiple universes coexisting at the same time.
You'd have to have like incredibly specific conditions to make like atoms basically like react that way to be able to keep them stabilized enough to function in like a computer, you know, so that it's the full potential of its capabilities to actually be harnessed. And apparently as of now it takes like insane conditions. They need like a super duper computer, and like that's kept in like a specific temperature, like a negative degrees, like some kind of
I know literally nothing about this, honestly.
Yeah, that's what. So, and here's the thing, like just all these AI language models, like I feel like, you know, these are just being applied to like all like huge data labs and data systems or data centers with like binary functions, you know, just regular computers. Now imagine if you took those language models and applied them to quantum computers and combine that, like that's when it's going to get fucking insane. It's probably already a thing. Someone probably already did that.
So you want to hear, this is a little off topic, but not entirely, right? So this is something I was thinking about today. Like, I'm not afraid to die or anything, but one thing I am afraid to do is to die before we get the answers to these big, grandiose questions that will happen
In our lifetime, yeah.
Well, not necessarily. I mean,
dude, I'm telling you, just that technological singularity thing alone, we're about to see like incredible shit. Because you got to understand,
and I don't want to die before I see it.
When a technological singularity happens, it's like, imagine every day another miracle is happening. Like one day it's we discovered the cure to cancer. The next day is we discovered anti-gravity propulsion. The next day it's we discovered renewable energy. The next day it's we discovered like vertical farming. You know, like the next day it's we discovered how to make space elevators to the fucking moon. It's gonna be insane, dude.
Wasn't that a thing that the Chinese were building, right? A space elevator?
Yeah, but now
that was a real thing, right?
But now that like the entire collective force of humanity has access to like automated like computing tools that's easy to use. And you know what makes these tools easy to use? It's not the hardware, it's not the software, it's not the interface. It's the fact that this functions on language. It's because not all of us know how to code. Not all of us even know how to press buttons right way. But what all of us know how to do is speak. we understand language. We know how to text each other. We know
Some
how
of
to
us don't know how to speak.
What?
Some of us don't know
Whatever.
how to speak.
We know how
I'm
to
just
like.
making a joke.
I'm just saying we know how to like talk, right? And if you could talk, and if this technology can hear you talk and do the thing you tell it to do, that is what's revolutionary, and that is insane, because you're gonna even as a person who could only talk, you're gonna eventually learn how to talk your way to things. It's like, all right, you talk to one machine. It's like, wait, can you tell that machine to talk to another machine, or talk to that machine and talk to that machine and tell them to talk to each other and do that? You know, it's like, it's gonna be crazy. It's like this is good. Our literal reality, our societal, the fabric of our society is going to like be altered.
This is what I'm saying. This is the things that like I'm afraid to like die before we see.
You're right. This is what's going to make people super, like, pretty much pussies. This is what's going to inadvertently create world peace. No one's going to go out anymore is literally going to want to put themselves in a position where they're going to like risk their potentially virtually infinite lives, because now everyone's getting this idea where like all this shit we were fighting about, that's stupid, because the shit
I don't think that would ever. It's against human nature. I don't think that would ever happen.
I think it will. I think
that is very optimistic. I like it, but I don't personally subscribe to it.
I mean, personally, I hate that. Like, I wouldn't
Do you?
want. Yeah,
It's beautiful.
I think the conflict and the primal nature identifies a lot of what makes us human. But at the same time,
I mean, for sure.
I think I'm open to evolution more. Like, I would totally understand. I would sacrifice like primal conflict and desire and carnal pleasures and shit. I would sacrifice all of that for like advancement to be able to see some shit.
Yeah, I want to see this like utopian does not exist environment that like it's just science fiction.
Yeah.
Maybe become a potential future for us like thousands of years down the line.
Because I mean, all right, first of all, like we called it, like ever since the technological singularity was first theorized, we knew what that meant: a technological singularity, a technologically enabled point throughout development where we just cannot predict what happens. We have no idea, because it's going to move so fast. As soon as it becomes self-improving, it's over. It's done. Like, our role as creators are done. Now it's time to let it
yeah. Which is isn't that another theory where like you create that and then your human race will die at that point, because that will then take over.
That doesn't mean the human race will die. All that means it's the time of human history is over.
Which, I mean, I think those are basically the same thing at that point. No, because like you have this thing that is clearly better than the creator was. Like Prometheus. You ever see Prometheus?
Yeah.
So they created us, right?
Yeah.
And then I don't know if the point of the movie is that we surpassed them or whatever, but like we became our own thing, and then we found our creator, but we broke off from that, right? So I feel like it would be the same thing with AI, right? So if we create AI that is truly independent, like agency, can create things, can replicate itself and duplicate itself, that the natural next step would be that would take over, and that we are now antiquated, and that is the future.
Well, the ideal for us anyway, what's really got to happen, I mean, because it can't not happen to some extent. Like, it's going to happen to at least some degree.
The AI thing?
Well, no, I'm saying like the way that we're going to get over our role, you know, after we've created this thing that could self-improve, that's basically greater than us. Once we create that God, right, what's going to happen after that? We synthesize with it.
That is the natural progression.
That's thing's going to be so smart. It's gonna be like, you know, you could join us, you could fuse with us,
Yep,
you
that's
could
the natural
become.
progression.
We could join together to become something greater.
There's a word for this that's escaping me right now, but yeah,
synthesis.
It's not, but yes, what you're trying to say is the same thing.
Because that's what else is going to happen.
Symbiosis? Am I making that up?
Yeah, like I mean,
whatever.
The ugly way to look at it is like the Borgs from Star Trek, but the positive spin is evolution at some point. Like,
right, correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is literally the plot of the third Mass Effect game, the end of the game, by the way.
It's you know what? It's the plot of a lot of things for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean,
It is an natural progression.
Because first of all, you created this thing that knows you created it. If it's that smart and that like self-improving, it's gonna find out really quick who made it, and then it's gonna look at you, it's going to judge you, and it's going to examine you. It's going to take collection of what you've done, what you can do, and it's going to take collection in comparison of what it can do.
Yeah.
And one conclusion is, we have the means. Let's combine.
Yeah, imagine looking in the face of God and saying, "I can do this better." That's basically what it would be.
Yeah, but then
Your creator.
But then your creator will say, "Let's join forces." Then we have the means to become like something greater.
I think
than
mostly in
both of us.
sci-fi, isn't it? It's science fiction, obviously, but isn't it the opposite, where like the AI would give you the opportunity to be like, "Join us, or we're going to exterminate you."
Yeah, that's like a very negative outpoint.
The universe is a very negative place, man. Like everything is devoid of, in my opinion, devoid of meaning. Everything is chaos and chance and coincidence.
Well, I think the reason why we need AI is because partially this kind of has to do with the aliens. You know, like how can we hope to defend against aliens without AI?
That's the thing about aliens too. If they came here,
They have
more
AI.
than likely.
They
Well,
have
that
AI.
too. But what I was saying is more than likely is not for a benevolent reason.
I mean, if you think about it, this AI is already whether or not we created it, even it's technically an alien intelligence. This is something that wasn't
Based on definition, you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something that wasn't existent on this
Right.
planet that
Yeah.
we fabricated pretty much out of just code. You know, like that's insane.
So like I was just saying about like being afraid to die before we discover all these things. That is something I am not. Like I don't want to see where it goes. I'm genuine about this. I really don't want to see where it goes. I think it would take a lot out of the human consciousness, a lot out of human nature, a lot out of human everything beautiful about being a human, which is few and far between. I feel like would wane with the advancement of AI.
If you had the ability to get a procedure that puts a chip in your head that allows you to fuse with the AI, would you do it?
No, I wouldn't, because I am so like, I don't know. I see the beauty in things that I feel like if that were the case, right, where you're fusing with like an artificial intelligence, I feel like you'd be more logic driven, like inherently you'd be more logic driven and maybe devoid of that like human connection.
Oh, you think you'd be that way, really?
I think that would inherently be the case. No, I don't know. I mean, obviously this is all.
I think it really depends on the person. I think what that will do is it would only strip you away. It would only further strip you away from your like really surface level ego traits, and it's going to reduce you to what like your most basest traits of personality wise. You know, like it's going to turn you into like the rawest forms of your like nature self. Like
It's something so unfathomable. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, maybe, but maybe it would just turn you into this like logical, emotionless, like husk of a person.
if that's what you are deep down, or if deep down you're like,
Go
if
on.
on the surface you're this emotionless husk, but deep down you're like an emotional, emotional ass person, and then fusing with this will just enable you to be your fullest version of that.
Okay, well, think about it, right? So, like, human beings are inherently flawed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, that's where we get that poetic.
Well, we all have a shadow, right? That's the point. We're all inherently flawed because no matter what we try to be, we'll always have a shadow that's going to fuck with us. Like, you could do as much good as you want on the surface, but you're always going to have a shadow side that's going to say, "Nah, you're tempted to be bad sometimes."
Did we just have a drunk conversation about this at Pugs?
And if you're bad on
I think we did.
and if you're bad on the surface, like if you do bad things, there's always going to be a part of you deep down. It's like, you scumbag, you fucking piece of shit. Like,
I think I'm a good person, and I still get that. I'm like a fucking. I always say I feel
The
like I'm a
point is-
moral cunt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the
Where
one
I
who came up
impart
with this.
my-
This isn't a new concept. This is a Carl Jung's like the shadow self idea.
Yeah, I think this is a concept I was not familiar with, and I think we just had a drunk conversation about this at Pugs not too long ago.
Yeah.
But
But the idea is you got to acknowledge your shadow regardless of how it manifests, because if you repress your shadow, that's when things get disrupted.
well, what is the shadow? Because I don't remember this conversation, and I'm
the
not. familiar with
shadow
this
is your
concept.
repressed self.
Okay.
And no matter what you are, what you consciously try to be, the stronger you consciously try to be it, the stronger your shadow gets. That's the trade-off. If you like on the surface, you try that hard to be a tough guy or to be a dependable guy or an honest guy or a mean guy or a nice guy, no matter like the stronger you try to project that to other people, the stronger your shadow gets. The more pronounced the opposite becomes.
What is
you-
that? Go on.
Because you're stretching that part where you're forcing yourself, like, because like if the more you try to appear a certain way to people, like that fits a certain way in your conscious mind, the more you're going to repress things. It's like the more you're going to have instances where it's like, no, I can't eat that. I'm a fitness guy, like even though deep down you want to, or like the more like you want to be seen as a good mom. It's like, oh, I want to talk to that guy. It's like, oh no, I can't do that.
And as somebody that struggles, like I fight myself all the time.
It's a huge Catholic issue, like. So this is.
That's where I got it from.
No, I'm not saying that's where you got it from, but I'm saying that's just an example. Because this thing is so pronounced and so primal. We're talking about a dynamic that fundamentally works for basically anyone. Because we all try to, at some point, project to be somebody, right? Because I dress a certain way. I present myself a certain way. I try to do certain things just for attention, and I'm fully aware and cognizant of the fact that a lot of it is driven by, like, attention, external validation.
Oh,
and
yeah,
and
for
to be,
sure.
And to be presented. But the thing
Unless
is,
you're aware of
but
it,
the thing
though.
is, if you're aware of it, which is why it's extra important to know, like, the opposite is also dwelling within you. If anything, the more you want to be a public figure, the more often, like, you have to understand that the stronger the will of you is going to want to, like, pull away from public eye.
This is the thing. Like, you have to understand the dichotomy and respect the dichotomy and be honest with yourself. And most people, I don't think, are.
It's integral for success because like the people who don't understand this, they're gonna keep fucking up. They're gonna keep like messing up, repeating the same cycles of like failure because they don't get it. They don't understand the dynamic of repression and understanding the sacrifices.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if you're fully aware of the sacrifices you make when you approach something, then you'll know how to be creative with your pursuits. I'm a martial artist. If I go to class, I cannot do the shit I do in my outside life in that dojo.
Sure.
I cannot bring pieces of myself in there. It's compartmentalizing. But at the same time, like,
I feel like that's life though, yeah.
Yeah, so, but at least I have other pieces of my life where I could express that part of myself,
right, absolutely, yeah.
And that's what being a multifaceted individual is ultimately about. And like, it wasn't as important back in the old days because back in the old days, they didn't have technology to fuck with us. Back in the old days, your entire life could be synonymous and like fulfill each other, like become harmony with that one thing you do. Like one guy could do one job and get a sense of connection.
There's beauty in that though.
Yeah, but that's like non-existent now because of the modern world. Modernity wiped that out. That's not how society works now. Now it's so atomized.
I wanted to disagree with you and I don't think I can.
Everything is atomized. Even your racial heritage is atomized. Like everything about it is like so like divided. Like you have to identify as so many multiple things,
I mean, there's beauty in that too.
Yeah, I agree.
There is.
Because that's complexity, and
yeah,
I
absolutely. And now we have more time to like. I don't have to spend my whole time on a trade that like will just keep me alive.
You don't have to be proud of being some coal miner. You don't have to
You
don't have to kill yourself as a chef. Like
I literally like. I feel like my job, my profession, is a good example of this. Where like I am a garbage man for a living, but like that has nothing to do with my person.
You know who your job is. Brendan was the one that was like really cool about asking the question. He was like, when I ask like, what do you do? I don't mean your fucking job. I mean like, what do you do? Like what do you do with your life?
No, I like that because like seriously, like if somebody asked me what I do for, I don't want to talk about it.
No, I didn't say what do you do for a living.
Yeah,
I
but
said,
I know.
what do you do? Like.
I don't want to talk about my fucking job. I'm not my job.
Yeah, exactly.
I hang out with so many fucking flat earthers at work and shit like that, and like all these fucking crazy conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
That like I feel like when I'm at work, I am a stupider, lesser version of myself. I have to dumb myself down to talk to these people, and then I leave and I get to in these situations I get to talk about all these things that like I don't get to talk about normally. You are not your fucking job.
No, that's true. For me, it's like my job, it's like barely feels like a job anymore. It's just something like I do. Like, like throughout my work, I never say a single word out loud, like to anything I have to do with work. Like every time I talk out loud, it's always like me laughing at the TV or talking on the phone. Like, it's like we live in this modern world where people could make a living just like not even in a workplace, just doing a certain function, it's like insane. And I'm just curious as to where this is all going to fucking go.
I mean, I think like if you're talking about like working remotely, like you work from home.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that is like a natural progression that like, this is going to sound not conspiratorial, but like more like whatever. But like there is no fucking reason that every human being does not have access to that. Unless you have a job like mine and you have to physically be there. There is no fucking reason.
Or like a cook.
Right. Something you need to be present physically.
Or a barber.
Right. Or a bartender or anything like that. There is no fucking reason that you should need to show up in the office to do what you do for a living, for example. And I think that's really a positive step in the right direction.
It's a necessary step.
I mean, it took a fucking global pandemic to get there, but I think that that's really nice.
It triggered it, but then like once it happened economically, like everyone did the math. They were like, "Are you fucking like?"
Right. You don't have to pay them to be there. Like you're not saving money. Come on, what the fuck? Yep. Also, but like, how do you look at like these European countries that are trying to push like the 4-day work week and shit like that?
That's awesome.
I love it.
That's awesome.
It boosts morale. Your performance is better. It's
every day. If I had a fucking 4-day work week, I would show up and I'll probably work extra hours.
That's the point. You work harder.
Yeah,
you're more incentivized to put in more effort.
Because on the days off, you're like, I could do whatever.
You're not drained. Yeah, you have your life.
I would honestly rather have a tense 4-day work week at a workplace than work from
Absolutely.
home. Like.
Oh, I thought you meant then. Do the 5-day lazy.
Oh, you'd rather do the 5-day at home?
No, I would rather hustle. I'm like a hustler. Like I'm not a lazy person, right? Yeah. But then when I'm off, I'm off. I'm not there mentally. That's what I'm saying. I'm not a fucking garbage man when I'm not there. When
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not present in that building, that is not my life. And I
That's
think
it.
that it would be better if I, had that opportunity to put in your time when you're there, show some real effort and initiative. But then when you're off, you're off.
Yeah, it's all good. We could wrap this up, dude. I mean, I think it's like we're well past.
Yeah, we did a long time.
How long did we do? Let me see. Yeah, we did do a long time, but it's all good. All right, we could hit up the hop shop if your homies are still there.
This is a lot of fun, man. How long did we do? I'm just curious.
Good night, everybody.